देखना आया यूट्यूब पे।
नहीं
आई ये अभी चला भाई।
एक्सपर्ट हो गए यार तुम लोग।
सर ये जो इसका बैकग्राउंड है ना, ये ऊपर का सब क्लोज कर दो और ये भी आप
एक्सपर्ट हो गए।
इसको आप वो कर लो ना, रिफ्रेम
ये
कर लो,
इफेक्ट्स हटा
वो
दीजिए
फ्रेम हो जाएगा सब।
यूज कर रखा है।
कैसे होगा?
आगे मैं तो सोच रहा था मैं ऑब्सोलीट हो गया, तुमने भी ऑब्सोलीट कर दिया इन्होंने।
मुझे भी कर दिया था।
मैं तुमसे पूछता हूँ, तुम मुझसे पूछ।
हम सर लेकिन ये जाएगा नहीं ऊपर वाला, लेकिन वहीं से ही क्लोज करना पड़ेगा शायद। वो बुक मार्क्स जो आ रहे हैं ना वो हटाने पड़ेंगे।
ये वाले
वैसे तो कोई इशू नहीं है, वो कोई सब प्रोफेशनल है वैसे तो। बुक मार्क्स ही रहा देखिए शो। हाँ ये कर दे शो, इस पे क्लिक कर दे। चला गया ये भी डाल दिया सर। क्या इफेक्ट्स वाला ऑप्शन यहाँ से बस।
इस पर इनको एडमिट कर लिया, नेक्स्ट टाइम से 3 बजे एडमिट करें। अब क्या नहीं तो ये हमारी पसंद बात है।
नहीं मैंने म्यूट कर रखा है।
हाँ वही है, करना तो पड़ेगी, लेकिन क्या हम आपस में भी तो बातें कर सकते हैं ना इसमें।
मिश्रा जी आ गए थे। मिश्रा जी 2:30 बजे आ गए थे,
तो फिर खाने निकल गए,
फिर अपने आप चले गए।
सैर करें करूँ मिश्रा जी को।
फुल स्क्रीन बन जाएगा
सर इसमें ऐप इंस्टॉल नहीं हो सकता गूगल मीट का? लैपटॉप करना, लैपटॉप करना ऐप तो ये गूगल का ये नहीं है ऊपर।
एक काम नहीं कर रहा है,
चल रहा है। हटा दिया मैंने डिस्क यहाँ से कर दिया।
एक चल रहा है, एक ना चल रहा है सही हो।
उस पे हाथ तो चालू हो जाएगा। इसको दबा के रखना, चालू हो जाएगा।
किसको
जो नहीं चल रहा,
दबा के रखूँ मतलब?
जो नहीं चला ना उसको हल्का सा प्रेस करके रखना, चालू हो जाएगा।
भाई अभी तो कोई आया नहीं है, एक भी बंदा आया बस।
देखिए इसमें ला रही है मैं।
आप लोग सुनोगे?
चालू करा आपने? चालू करा है?
हाँ
मेरे को
कितना लंबा बोलना है?
मेरे को
कितना लंबा?
यहाँ से पहले
गूगल चालू ही नहीं है। वही पकड़ो, मैं आ रहा हूँ।
इसमें लैंड और भी लिखो, दिस इज माय लास्ट वेबिनार। मतलब इन CGA
म्यूट है ना, एक ही बचेगा ना वो मेरा।
हम YouTube पे देखें,
3 से पेज हो जाए।
हम YouTube पे देख लें।
कोई आया नहीं अभी तक।
किसी को पता भी है कि नहीं पता?
3 नहीं बजे 3 बजे तो स्टार्ट होने का टाइम था, लोग पहले आए थे।
भाई मेरे लिए नहीं बोला ना,
मिल तो गई।
अरे देखना यार।
इससे ऐसा लगेगा नहीं कि मैं नीचे किधर देख रहा हूँ।
कोई आए तो देख लिया रिकॉर्ड का ऑप्शन तो सर के उसमें भी आ रहा है।
सर के उसमें भी आएगा
तो ये अपना रिकॉर्ड करके बंद कर दे, पिछले में
स्टार्ट कर दूँ रिकॉर्डिंग? कट कर लेंगे वो तो।
और क्या कर देना सर, अभी आने तो भी कर लेना। गुड मॉर्निंग, गुड आफ्टरनून, जो भी होगा।
बाहर वाला भी निकला। एक मिनट देखना, यहाँ पर बैठ जाओ, अगर कोई आए ना तो एडमिट कर लेना।
आया कोई तो
खुद पे कर दो, एडमिट करते जाओ, आप एडमिट कर दो। और भी कोई आया क्या?
दो जने
और कोई मीटिंग में नहीं?
नहीं।
जो आते जाए एडमिट कर लेना।
जी। बस से रहने का कुछ 9 लोग हो गए शायद बाहर के।
अरे मेरा चार्ज रखते थे, चार्ज लगाना। इधर बैठ जाओ तू।
चने डाली मुझको।
कोई नहीं।
गुप्ता जी नमस्कार, कैसे हैं आप? म्यूट हैं।
हाँ हाँ नमस्कार।
नमस्कार। और राजेश गुप्ता जी आप कैसे हैं?
बढ़िया सर, गुड आफ्टरनून, हाउ आर यू?
आई एम फाइन सर, गुड टू सी यू।
थैंक यू सर, वी आर आल्सो सेम, गुड टू सी यू सर फॉर द वेबिनार।
हाँ जी हाँ
आप
जी।
आप कुछ ना कुछ कराते रहते हो सर।
सर हम कौन होते हैं? जीएसटी काउंसिल कराने वाली है, वो उतना काम दे देती है कि आप काम में ही लगे रहते हो।
चलते रहोगे तो बैलेंस बना रहेगा।
नहीं, अभी तो काफी अच्छा चेंज दे दिया इन्होंने।
बहुत सारे चेंज है सर, बहुत
और
ही ज्यादा चेंज।
रेवेन्यू 1.5 लाख से 2 के आसपास पहुंच ही जाएगी सर, नियर अबाउट।
अब देखो सर क्या है, क्या होता है, जितने चेंज है उतनी इश्यूज भी हैं।
तो आपका जो रिकमेंडेशन रेंट पर है वो तो कॉस्ट टू कंपनी बनेगा ना।
देखिए क्या होता है क्या नहीं होता है, वो तो अब इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ इंटरप्रिटेशन।
और जो 5% को लेके आए ये B2C कंजम्पशन है, तो उससे तो बढ़ेगा ही रेवेन्यू।
रेवेन्यू तो सारे बढ़ेंगे ही, सारी चीजें रेवेन्यू बढ़ाने पर ही है।
हाँ, रेवेन्यू बढ़ाने पे अच्छा होगा
रेवेन्यू
सर।
कम करने का कोई प्रपोजिशन नहीं है।
रेवेन्यू तो डे बाय डे बढ़ ही रहा है इनका, कमी तो आई नहीं है कहीं पे भी।
हाँ जी हाँ जी। और तरुण जी कैसे हैं आप? मिश्रा जी कैसे हैं आप?
गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
गुड आफ्टरनून, गुड आफ्टरनून।
बढ़िया बढ़िया।
आपकी सारी टीम आ गई?
टीम तो आ गई होगी सर, मैं तो अभी रास्ते में ट्रैवल कर रहा हूँ, चंडीगढ़ में हूँ, अभी वापस हूँ दिल्ली में, तो मैं यहीं से ज्वाइन कर लिया रास्ते से ही। मनोज आ गया होगा?
हाँ मनोज है।
हाय, गुड आफ्टरनून बलराम।
अभी आ गया।
हाँ जी हाँ जी। गाड़ी में लग रहा है। देखो टेक्नोलॉजी का ये तो फायदा है कि कहीं भी
हाँ
हो।
फायदा है, अभी दोनों चीज चल रहा है।
बोथ वे स्पीकर भी गाड़ियों में से बोल देते हैं, क्यों सर?
हाँ हाँ वो तो है।
नहीं, स्पीकर को थोड़ा ज्यादा तैयार रहना पड़ता है, इसलिए थोड़ा सा।
कई बार हमारे सेमिनार में हुआ है कि स्पीकर गाड़ी में से ही, उनको ऐसा टाइम शेड्यूल था, गाड़ी रोक के ही पूरा स्पीच दिया उन्होंने गाड़ी में।
मनोज ज्वाइन कर लिया ना? आई थिंक दिल्ली से लक्ष्मी ज्वाइन किया। लक्ष्मी
चला जा, अभी तो 5 मिनट है।
एक बार तरुण सर को
गुड आफ्टरनून बलराम, आरती।
यस सर, ज्वाइन कर लिया।
ज्वाइनिंग।
हाँ हाँ तरुण जी को फोन कर दो, उनको भी लिंक भेजा।
चांदन आई हैव सीन।
नहीं कर रहे हो क्या? कॉन्फ़िगरेशन साथ में कंबाइन करोगे
क्या?
कॉन्फ़िगरेशन साथ में कंबाइन करना पड़ेगा आपको, वो कलर मिल जाएगा दूसरा, उससे और नीचा मॉडल है
कन्फ्यूजन क्या है बता दो।
सेलुलर प्रोसेसर है तुम्हें?
हैं?
सेलुलर प्रोसेसर है उसमें, तो आई वीजे में क्या आता है?
बेकार है, यूज का थोड़ी है।
तो ऑपरेशन बहुत मजा से बताया।
अरे यार, मैं लगता है उसको चलाएगा। फिर वो बंद हो गई यार, वेबिनार चल रही थी और चल रही। वेबिनार कहाँ पर गई? दुनिया i5 पे जाएगी, तू उल्टा जा रहा है, बिल्कुल लेके जा रहा है।
नहीं मैं नहीं आ रहा, मैं तो खुद सही नहीं करूंगा। मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ।
नहीं यार, वो
एक ऑप्शन मेरे को मिला है, तो बोला है वो कलर में, बाकी कलर नहीं है।
फैंसी नहीं बनता, i3 से भी नीचे आई भाई, वो तो ठीक है यार, फैंसी नहीं बनता यार।
नहीं ऐसा भी बोला मैंने, i5 में है कि नहीं?
मीट में क्या हो गया?
तो वीडियो होगी ना, वीडियो वाली होगी।
चाहिए दोबारा से।
तरुण जी का फोन नहीं लगा? फोन नहीं लाया तरुण जी का? हाँ जी हाँ जी हाँ जी सुन पा रहा हूँ। गुड आफ्टरनून मैम, सीबी मैम।
थ्री टेन हो गया, 39 हो गया।
बात हो ही रही।
बलराम शांतनु बोल रहा हूँ, जीएल मेल कर दिया था मैंने तुमको। हेलो।
हाँ ठीक है, मैं चेक करूंगा।
ओ
अभिषेक भाई हो जाएगा।
चैनल का नाम क्या है?
सीजीए लीगल डालो यूट्यूब पर, लाइव करके।
ऐसा अनाउंसमेंट तो विल बी स्टार्टिंग शॉर्टली, फिर बाकी 2-3 मिनट पे कर देते हैं। कुछ और 15 लोग हैं,
3:15 पे कर देंगे।
हाँ मैक्सिमम उससे पहले ही कर देंगे। आप बीच में अनाउंसमेंट कर दो।
ठीक है।
स्टार्टिंग
Good afternoon, everyone. We will be starting the webinar shortly.
गमले कहाँ हैं? गमले कहाँ हैं?
गमले क्या?
गमले आ रहे थे ना। देखा
तो
क्या रेट है मुझे यार, महंगी आइटम है यार, 2000 रुपये की आइटम
इधर
है।
जाओ, कहीं तो डालेंगे।
उठाना मैडम का दो जो है घंटे कौन सी है 12। अरे कन ये उठा
Hello everyone, very good afternoon to everyone. My name is CA Pranjal Agrawal and I welcome you all on behalf of entire team of CGA Legal to this CGA Legal live meet. CGA Legal is a platform where we bring to our subscribers the detailed analysis of various qualitative aspects of GST through our newsletters and webinars. As we all know, in the recent GST Council meeting held on 29th of June 2022, GST Council put forward numerous proposals for the change not only into GST rules, but it has also proposed significant changes in GST rates on various goods and services, including changing various exemptions and removal of concessional rate of tax on certain supplies. To comply with such proposals of GST Council, CBIC has issued certain notifications and circulars which are effective from 18th of July 2022. In order to analyze the above in detail, CJ Legal is organizing its webinar series CJ Legal Live Meet, analysis of the notifications and circulars on recommendations of the 47th GST Council meeting. The deliberation will be taken by CA Chitresh Gupta and CA Shilpi Gupta. CA Chitresh Gupta and CA Shilpi Gupta are senior members of CGA Legal having vast knowledge and experience into indirect taxation. The deliberation will be followed by question answer session. If anyone wishes to ask question in between of the deliberation, you may please type your question in the chat box. And now I invite CA Chitresh Gupta sir to start his deliberation.
Thank you, Pranjal, for the nice introduction. And good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you all in this webinar. As we all know, recently the Balram, I think there is some echo at your side. Kindly mute yourself. Yeah. So recently, the 47th GST Council meeting has been held on 28th and 29th of June, and lot of changes has been made. And consequent to that meeting, lot of notifications has been issued by the CBIC and also the circulars. So big changes are very bulky. So we thought it's proper to keep the webinar to appraise you with the latest changes and what is going to happen in future. So I'll be covering the tariff notifications, and the non-tariff notification will be covered by my co-speaker Shilpi Gupta. I'm just sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everybody. Pranjal?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's
Yes,
visible.
sir, the screen is visible.
Okay. So this is the brief flow of the presentation. First, I'll be discussing what are the notification and the circular which has been issued by CBIC. Then I'll be discussing the changes made in respect of healthcare services. Then the changes in respect of accommodation services. Then service of renting of residential dwelling. Then passenger transport services, GTA services. Then what are the changes in rate of tax in case of work contract services. Then changes made in services provided by Department of Post, tour operator services. Then changes made in storage and warehousing services. Then what are the changes in various rate of goods and other changes. So if I talk about the notification and circulars, so 8 notification has been issued in case of non-tariff notifications, and 9 tariff notification has been issued, and 7 circulars has been issued in order to give effect to the recommendation of the GST Council. So first start with the changes which has been made in the healthcare services. तो अभी तक हम सभी को पता है the healthcare services are exempt under GST. So this is the first time the government has thought to brought some of these services under GST net. So if I talk about the present situation, the entry number 74 of the assumption notification provides that services by way of healthcare services by a clinical establishment, an authorized medical practitioner, or paramedics are exempt. Now they have inserted one proviso in this notification, in this clause, and that proviso reads as, provided that nothing contained in this entry shall apply to the services provided by clinical establishment by way of providing room other than ICU, having room charges exceeding 5,000 rupees per day to a person receiving healthcare services. मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर जो है कोई क्लिनिकल एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है या हॉस्पिटल है, वो अपना रूम रेंट पे दे रहा है और उसके चार्जेस 5,000 रुपीज पर डे पर पर्सन से ज्यादा हैं, तो उस केस में हेल्थ केयर सर्विसेज की हॉस्पिटल को अजम्पशन नहीं मिलेगी और जो रूम रेंटल चार्जेस है दैट शुड बी लायबल टू जीएसटी. Now, consequent to this, they have also made changes in the notification number 11, which deals with the rate for services, and they have inserted entry number 31A, and the renting of room by a hospital exceeding 5,000 rupees per day to a person has been made taxable at the rate of 5%, and it is without ITC, and the hospital cannot claim the ITC on goods or services used in supplying the services of room rent. Now, having gone through this provision, there are various questions which comes to everybody's mind. The first question is whether provision of room at the hospital is to be considered as composite supply of healthcare service और इज ए सेपरेट सर्विस अपार्ट फ्रॉम हेल्थ केयर सर्विस. तो सर हम सभी को पता है देयर इज ए कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कंपोजिट सप्लाई अंडर जीएसटी लॉ. इन केस ऑफ कंपोजिट सप्लाई इज ए सप्लाई वेयर टू और मोर टैक्सेबल सर्विसेज आर supplied together, and those are naturally bundled and supplied in conjunction with each other. Now, in case of hospital, if you go to the hospital for getting the health treatment done, so the hospital provides you the healthcare services. The hospital also provides you the medicine. The hospital also provides you the food to the patient who is admitted in the hospital, and the hospital also provides you the room and some other incidental services. Now, till date, what was happening? All these services which were being provided by the hospital were used to be considered as a composite supply and exempted by way of this notification entry number 74. Now, in order to clarify this situation further, earlier the CBIC has also issued circular number 32 bar 06 bar 2018 dated 12 February 2018, wherein the CBIC has clarified that the healthcare services provided by clinical establishment would include food supply to the patient, meaning thereby जो healthcare service जो hospital provide कर रहा है, जो food supplied है to the inpatient, the patient who are admitted in the hospital, उनको जो food supplied है, that should be considered as a part of healthcare service. The food supply to the inpatient as advised by the doctor and nutritionist is a part of composite supply of healthcare and not separately taxable. Other supplies of food by hospital to patients not admitted or their attendants or visitors are taxable. Further, this view has also been confirmed in various other judgments and rulings like Ernakulam Medical Care Private Limited Authority for Advanced Ruling Kerala, then St. Thomas Hospital, etc. So now the question arises कि when the government circular itself says that the food supply to inpatient, the patient who are admitted into a hospital is a part of composite supply and treated as healthcare service. So how can the room rent can be separated from the healthcare service? So again, in my view, this amendment is going to further create a litigation because in my view, the room rent should still be treated as composite supply of services.
So, sir, here medicine is also covered. अगर composite supply में जैसे food की हम बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ medicine भी अगर package का part है.
Correct.
तो तो वो भी कंपोजिट में आएगा क्या?
करेक्ट, आनी चाहिए, इन पेशेंट को आनी चाहिए. So sir, the another question is whether GST is to be charged on consideration for the room rent, meaning thereby अब सपोज आपका जो रूम रेंट है वो 7,500 रुपए का है. अब नोटिफिकेशन आपकी कहती है कि अगर 5,000 से ऊपर का रूम रेंट है तो जीएसटी लगेगा, अगर उससे कम का रूम रेंट है तो नहीं लगेगा. नाउ द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस कि अगर आपका 7,500 रुपए का रूम रेंट है तो जीएसटी जो है 7,500 माइनस 5,000 2,500 रुपीज पे लगेगा या 7,500 रुपीज पे लगेगा. तो सर जो नोटिफिकेशन है उसको पढ़ने से ऐसा लगता है दी once the charges for the room rent exceeds 7,500 rupees, so in that case the GST should be charged on the entire amount 7,500 rupees and not on the excess amount which is in excess of 5,000 limit. Then they have omitted entry number 73 which provide that services provided by cord blood banks by way of preservation of stem cells or any other service in relation to such preservation, meaning thereby जो cord blood banks जो अभी तक exempt थे, now this assumption entry has been deleted. Now the services which has been provided by cord blood banks will be taxable with effect from 18 July 2022. तो सर जितने भी ये मैं रेट नोटिफिकेशन डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, जनरली ऑल दीज नोटिफिकेशन विल कम इनटू इफेक्ट from 18 July 2022. Then they have also deleted one entry number 75 of notification number 12 wherein they said the services by way of treatment or disposal of biomedical waste or the process incidental thereto by a common biomedical waste treatment facility to a clinical establishment, meaning thereby ये पहले जो है अगर कोई सर्विस दे रहा है बाय वे ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट और डिस्पोजल ऑफ बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट टू क्लिनिकल एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, तो वो जो है पहले जो है एग्जम्प्ट थी. नाउ दिस assumption has been withdrawn and this service has been made taxable at the rate of 12%. Now let us come to the changes made in accommodation services. तो सर मेरा एंट्री नंबर 7 है ऑफ नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 11 विच इज अ रेट नोटिफिकेशन जो इससे डील करता है. और अगर हम मैं पहले की बात करूं, ये एंट्री रीड करती है सप्लाई ऑफ होटल अकोमोडेशन हैविंग वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ ए यूनिट ऑफ अकोमोडेशन अबव 1,000 रुपीज बट लेस देन और इक्वल टू 7,500 रुपीज पर यूनिट पर डे और इक्वलेंट, मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर मेरा कोई होटल है, होटल अकोमोडेशन है, अगर उसका टैरिफ 1,000 से ऊपर है और 7,500 के बराबर है तो उस केस में मेरा टैक्स लगता था एट द रेट ऑफ 12%. नाउ द वर्ड्स अबव 1,000 रुपीज हैज बीन डिलीटेड फ्रॉम दिस एंट्री एंड द न्यू एंट्री रेड एज सप्लाई ऑफ होटल अकोमोडेशन हैविंग वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ यूनिट ऑफ अकोमोडेशन less than or equal to 7,500 rupees per unit per day or equivalent, meaning thereby चाहे होटल कुछ भी चार्ज कर रहा है, सपोज वो 1,000 से कम भी चार्ज कर रहा है, तो in that case also the services of rent hotel accommodation has been made taxable with effect from 18 July 2022. Now consequent to this there is a corresponding amendment which has been made in the assumption notification. एंड जो एंट्री अजम्पशन नोटिफिकेशन में दी गई थी और जो एग्जम्प्ट करती थी कि होटल अकोमोडेशन अगर 1,000 रुपए तक का है उस पे टैक्स नहीं लगेगा, तो वो एंट्री वहां से डिलीट कर दी गई जो कि दैट सर्विस हैज बीन मेड टैक्सेबल अंडर रेट नोटिफिकेशन. Now let us discuss some of the issues and challenges after amendment in hotel accommodation service. So if you see, there are so many small hotels like homestays, guest houses and other hotels. These hotels who are charging less than or up to 1,000 rupees after the amendment will come into the GST net and they will have to pay take the registration and discharge the applicable GST. However, this will be subject to the threshold limit which is applicable under the GST law. Now, there can be a case that the hostel accommodation or PGs has been provided by a coaching institute or private organization or individuals. Now, there was an advance ruling of Maharashtra wherein it was held that hostel accommodation cannot be considered as a residential dwelling. So what was happening in the market that the hostel accommodation was considered as a accommodation in a hotel, and these services of hostel accommodation were exempted subject to condition that the rent for the hostel accommodation is up to 1,000 rupees per unit per day. Now, since this limit of 1,000 has been done away with and has been removed, now even the hostel accommodation which is less than 1,000 rupees per unit per day will become taxable in the with effect on 18 July 2022. Now, the another is accommodation provided by religious institution in dharamshalas. तो जब ये change आया तो there was lot of hue and cry in the market and everybody was saying कि भाई जो धर्मशाला हैं वो भी जो है धर्मशाला किराए पे देते हैं और उसके चार्जेस 1,000 रुपए पर डे से कम होते हैं, तो धर्मशाला पे भी क्या जीएसटी लग जाएगा? तो सर, if you see entry number 13B of the assumption notification, this entry says service by way of renting of precincts of religious place mean for general public owned or managed by an entity registered as charitable religious trust under the Income Tax Act is exempted except where the charges for the rooms are 1,000 rupees or more per day. Meaning thereby अगर कोई धर्मशाला जो है किसी रिलीजियस प्लेस में सिचुएटेड है और वो धर्मशाला रेंट पे देते हैं और उसका जो रेंट है वो 1,000 रुपीज से अप टू 1,000 रुपीज है या उससे बेसिकली 1,000 रुपीज से कम है, तो इन दैट केस दैट सर्विस will still be exempt because this entry is as it is and there is no change has been made in entry 13B of the assumption notification. Now the another issue can be with regard to yoga and meditation camps organized by charitable trust, जो कि हमें पता है आजकल जो है काफी जगह पर योगा या मेडिटेशन कैंप्स लगते हैं, स्पिरिचुअल कैंप्स लगते हैं, तो वहां पर जो है रेजिडेंशियल कोर्सेज ऑर्गेनाइज कराए जाते हैं. तो अब ये जो वहां पर जब कोर्सेज ऑर्गेनाइज कराए जाते हैं तो नाउ द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, तो वहां पर रेजिडेंशियल अकोमोडेशन ऑफर करा गया है तो वहां पर भी जो है 1,000 रुपए की लिमिट अप्लाई होगी या ये टैक्सेबल होगा या एग्जम्प्ट होगा, दैट इज द क्वेश्चन. तो सर अगर मैं इसमें एंट्री नंबर 1 देखूं ऑफ द असम्पशन नोटिफिकेशन, वो कहता है सर्विस प्रोवाइडेड बाय एंटिटी रजिस्टर्ड अंडर द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट by way of advancement of religion, spirituality or yoga are exempt. So in my view, the residential programs or camps which are where the fee charged include the cost of lodging and boarding shall also be exempt as long as the primary and the predominant activity of such residential programs or camps is advancement of religious spirituality or तो ये कंपोस्ट सप्लाई में भी आ सकता है क्या, जैसे गोवा या ट्रेडिंग का चार्जेस और सब. सर मैं रिक्वेस्ट है क्वेश्चन लास्ट में ले बिकॉज़ देयर अदर पार्टिसिपेंट्स आल्सो. क्वेश्चन लास्ट में मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है आप नोट डाउन कर लीजिए, तो विल बी टेकिंग ऑल द क्वेश्चन इन द आवाज बढ़ा रिसर्च फॉर एंगो YouTube का आ रहा है द चेंजेस मैं भी कह रही हूं ये बताओ और डबल टैप करो So there is a entry number of the assumption notification. पहले ये कहती थी सर्विसेज यहाँ से बंद लगी तो इसमें भी आई तो थी रेजिडेंशियल डवेलिंग करके दिया है as residence is exempt. Residential dwelling what has not been defined in the no now the mandatory reads as services by way of renting of residential dwelling or use as residence except where the residential dwelling is rented to a registered person. रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन मीनिंग देयर बाय अनरजिस्टर्ड को दिया तो टैक्सेबल नहीं होगा, जो कि यहाँ पर जो है इन्होंने कैवेट लगा दिया। अगर रजिस्टर्ड को दिया है तो दिस
किसी एक लैपटॉप में ना कितना बाकी है इसमें चला लो। बंद कर दे।
अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज। नाउ सर मेरे पास बहुत सारी क्वेरीज आई इस एंट्री को लेकर और अभी भी लोग कंफ्यूज रहे इसको लेकर, जो कि अब क्वेश्चन ये आया जो उन्होंने रिवर्स चार्ज की एंट्री इंसर्ट करी है उसमें इन्होंने कहा है सर्विसेज बाय वे ऑफ रेंटिंग ऑफ रेजिडेंशियल ड्वेलिंग टू ए रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन। तो यहाँ पर इन्होंने जो वर्ड था फॉर यूज एज ए रेजिडेंस, दे हैव नॉट यूज्ड दैट वर्ड इन द आरसीएम। Yes, because in the RCM notification they have not used the word residential dwelling for use as residence. So use can be commercial or residential. So in both the cases, if it is given to the registered person, it should be covered under reverse charge. So let us consider few scenarios. पहला है clear scenario देखूं तो it was completely exempt. Now after the change, in case of let out to registered person taxable under reverse charge, or in other case it is to unregistered person it is exempt. In the second case, let out for any non-residential use, many commercial use. Here also it is not exempt because it should be used as residence and it was taxable as 18%. And after the change, this let out to registered person taxable under reverse charge. Why so? Because we have already discussed in the reverse charge notification, they have not used the word residential dwelling used as residence. So usage is irrelevant. So in other cases, taxable under forward rate of 18%. Let out to unregistered person completely exempt earlier and completely exempt in after change also. Then let out to company registered who give it to the employee. So earlier it was completely exempt. Now under the revised amended scenario, the company will be liable to pay the tax under reverse charge. Now there is a company owned staff quarters provided to employees at concessional rent near factory premises to employees. So this was already exempt earlier also, and this time also it will be completely exempt. And let out residential property let out to proprietor of GST registered concern for person who has residence. So it was earlier exempt. Now it will be liable to GST and tax has to be paid under RCM. Now also there is some confusion here because how to bifurcate in case of a proprietor the personal expenses and the business expenses, because the registration is same and he has taken the renting service, renting of a residential property for use as a residence. So definitely you have to avoid the ambiguity and future notation. So RCM the tax can be paid under RCM. And if the residential property is let out as rental or guest house, then it will come within the scope of total accommodation services. Now let us come to the changes made in passenger transport services. So entry number 8 में आया है rate notification में, wherein they have inserted one entry which says transport of passenger with or without accompanied belonging is road wage. मतलब transport of passenger by road wage has been made taxable at the rate of 3%. However, this is subject to condition that the rate of charge on goods used in supplying the service has not been taken. So यहाँ पर if you change the So if I talk about the earlier scenario, this service was taxable under residual category and tax was payable at the rate of 18%. Now, services of passenger transport by air. So entry number 15 has been amended, and if you see earlier, it says that the transport of passengers with or without accompanying belongings by air embarking or terminating in an airport located in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim or Tripura, or at Bagdogra located in West Bengal. मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर आप कोई भी जर्नी करते हैं एयर से और जो एयर जर्नी है वो यहाँ इन स्पेसिफाइड स्टेट से स्टार्ट होती है एंड होती है, तो इन दैट केस जो है जीएसटी एग्जम्पशन थी. नाउ they have amended this entry, and after the word air they have added in economy class, meaning thereby earlier whether you are traveling in business class or economy class, the assumption was available provided other conditions are satisfied. Now in this case the assumption has been curtailed and it will be available if you if you travel only in economy class. Now let us come to the changes made in goods transport services. सर जो जीटीए का एग्जिस्टिंग सिनेरियो है वो तो हम सबको पता ही है कि जीटीए में जो है जो रिवर्स चार्ज में जो है टैक्स देना पड़ता था रिसिपिएंट को एट द रेट ऑफ 5%, and the person liable to pay GST was the person who is liable to pay the freight. And similarly, if this GTA services were provided to a recipient who is not a specified recipient like factory, society, the person registered in GST or etc. etc. So if it is an unspecified person, then the GST was liable to be paid under forward charge at the rate of 5%. And the option of 12% GST under forward charge was also applicable to the GTA. And the notification reads as where the GTA where the GTA does not pay the tax at the rate of 12% on the GTA services, meaning there पे अगर वो 12% का टैक्स पे कर रहा है तो he will come under forward charge, और अगर वो 12% का टैक्स नहीं पे कर रहा तो GTA सर्विसेज will remain under the reverse charge. तो अगर वो 12% का टैक्स पे करता था फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में तो जो है definitely the tax needs to be paid by the GTA under forward charge under FCM option. So now what is the revised scenario? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो हमारा रिवर्स चार्ज का सिनेरियो है उसमें कोई भी चेंज नहीं आया. तो जो रिवर्स अगर कोई जीटीए रिवर्स चार्ज में रहना चाहता है और रिवर्स चार्ज के हिसाब से ही करना चाहता है तो देयर इज नो चेंज फॉर हिम. द चेंजेस हैज ओनली बीन मेड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द फॉरवर्ड चार्ज सर्विसेज इन केस ऑफ जीटीए, बिकॉज अर्लियर देयर वाज कंफ्यूजन इन केस ऑफ जीटीए whether the forward charge can be adopted per consignment basis or can be opted branch wise or company wise. So there were a lot of issues and a lot of ambiguity which was going on in the market. So in order to resolve those ambiguity, they have tried to bring some clarity in the provision relating to forward charge in case of GTA. So again, the GTA has two options, reverse charge and the forward charge. So reverse charge is same as we were doing earlier, and in case of forward charge, let's discuss it in detail. So GTA has to exercise the option in forward charge, and the recipient may be anybody. Recipient may be specified or unspecified person. So now the GTA has been given two options under forward charge.
गई ना, उसमें जा रही है, देखो आपकी जा रही है, इस पे भी सही हो गई है।
क्या चीज?
सही आ रही है, इस तरह से आ रही है।
दोनों लगानी पड़ेंगी तभी आवाज जाएगी।
दोनों लगा लो, आपकी मतलब अच्छे सुनाई देगा, ज़्यादा अच्छे सुनाई देगा।
नहीं सुनना नहीं है, बोलना है।
सही है, दोनों लगा लो, बंदा उसमें लगा दो।
आवाज तो इससे भी चली, इससे जाती होगी ना।
हाँ चली जाएगी, इससे कहीं भी चली जाएगी।
चल देखते हैं।
फिर इसको इसमें रख लो, उसको निकालना है तो उसको निकाल लेना। आवाज
आरसीएम में जीएसटी पे नहीं करना है। Now the question arises how to exercise the option by the GTA. तो सर यहाँ पर इन्होंने एक डिक्लेरेशन दी है in annexure 5. So that declaration in annexure 5 has to be submitted to jurisdictional GST authority. तो अब इन्होंने कहा कि जो ऑफ करना है ओवर चार्ज के लिए इसके 2 पीरियड इन्होंने बना दिए। एक तो पीरियड ये है स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 18 जुलाई 2022 टू 31 मार्च 2023 एंड फॉर सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर्स। ये 18 जुलाई से 18 जुलाई से इसलिए जो इसकी नोटिफिकेशन 18 जुलाई से आएगी। तो उन्होंने कहा कि भाई जो फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2022 है और 2023 है, क्या इसके लिए जीडीए फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में जा सकता है? यस, फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में जा सकता है। तो उस केस में उन्होंने कहा कि उसको फॉरवर्ड चार्ज से जा सकता है 18 जुलाई 2022 से, एंड दिस ऑप्शन हैज टू बी एक्सरसाइज्ड बिफोर 16 अगस्त 2022। मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर वो 18 जुलाई से फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में करता है तो जो इनवॉइस इस बीच में इशू हुई है उसका क्या होगा? तो उसके लिए भी इन्होंने कह दिया कि इनवॉइसेस अंडर एफसीएम कैन बी इशूड फ्रॉम 18 जुलाई 2022 टू 16 अगस्त 2022। तो ये तो इस साल की बात हो गई। व्हाट अबाउट फॉर सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर्स? सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर्स के लिए इन्होंने कहा कि अगर जीटीए को फॉरवर्ड चार्ज ऑप्शन अडॉप्ट करना है तो उसको ऑन और बिफोर 15 मार्च ऑफ द प्रीसीडिंग फाइनेंशियल ईयर उसको ये डिक्लेरेशन फाइल करनी पड़ेगी एवरी ईयर। मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर उसको 2023-24 के लिए ऑप्ट करना है तो उसको 15 मार्च 2023 तक डिक्लेरेशन फाइल करनी पड़ेगी कि मैं 23-24 के लिए कैन बी फॉरवर्ड चार्ज मैकेनिज्म ऑप्ट करने जा रहा हूं। वन मोर थिंग, अगर जीटीए ने एक बार फॉरवर्ड चार्ज ऑप्ट कर लिया तो फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर ईयर वो उसको चेंज नहीं कर पाएगा। मीनिंग देयर बाय एक बार उसने ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज कर दी तो दैट ऑप्शन विल रिमेन वैलिड फॉर थ्रू आउट द फाइनेंशियल ईयर। तो फ्रेंड्स इसमें जो दिस इज द चेंज। तो नोटिफिकेशन में डिक्लेरेशन वगैरह का फॉर्मेट भी दिया हुआ है तो यू कैन जस्ट गो थ्रू। बट इसमें जो मेरे को इशू लगता है वो इशू यही लगता है कि भाई ठीक है, किसी ने जो है फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21-22 में कोई ट्रक खरीदा था, तो जब ट्रक खरीदा था वो जीटीए रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म में था। जब वो रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म में था तो जो ट्रक पे उसने जीएसटी दिया उसका क्रेडिट उसको नहीं मिला था। नाउ दैट जीटीए हैज ऑप्टेड फॉर द फॉरवर्ड चार्ज मैकेनिज्म, now under the forward charge mechanism if the GTA is paying tax at the rate of 12%, full input tax credit is available to him. तो now the question arises, जो ट्रक मैंने पहले खरीदा था और जो मैं अभी भी यूज कर रहा हूँ फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ बिजनेस एंड द ट्रक्स व्हिच आर लेस देन 5 years old, तो उसका मुझे क्रेडिट कैसे मिलेगा? तो दिस मैकेनिज्म हैज नॉट बीन गिवन इन द नोटिफिकेशन एंड दिस इज अ ग्रे एरिया एंड अगेन it is going to lead to the litigation because unless until the government clarify this aspect, nobody is going to opt for the FCM option. Now, withdrawal of assumption of certain GTA services. assumption of following services provided by GTA by way of transport in a goods carriage has been withdrawn. First is goods where consideration charged for transportation of goods on a consignment transported in a single carriage does not exceed 1,500 rupees. तो ये हमारा विड्रॉ हो गया. ये assumption हमारी सर्विस टैक्स रिजीम से आ रही थी, तो ये बहुत पुरानी assumption है, तो अब ये इन्होंने विड्रॉ कर दी. B, goods where consideration charged for transportation of all such goods for a single consignee does not exceed 750 rupees. Then another change is transport of goods by रोपवे. तो जो पहले हमने रोपवे का डिस्कस करा था वो ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ पैसेंजर बाय रोपवेज था. नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स बाय रोपवेज. तो ये जो ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स बाय रोपवेज है, ये भी 5% के टैक्स ब्रैकेट में डाल दिया गया है. एंड इट इज सब्जेक्ट टू कंडीशन दैट क्रेडिट ऑफ इनपुट टैक्स चार्ज ऑन गुड्स यूज्ड इन सप्लाइंग द सर्विस हैज नॉट बीन टेकन. तो क्रेडिट सर्विसेज का आप ले सकते हैं, गुड्स का क्रेडिट आप नहीं ले सकते इसमें. और earlier the tax rate was 18%. Now another change is made by way of entry number 10 of notification number 11, which is the rate notification prescribing rate for services. So in that notification they have inserted clause 1A, and it says renting of goods carriage where the cost of fuel is included in the consideration charge from the service recipient will be taxable at 12%. So earlier it was covered under other rental services of transport vehicle with operator and taxable at 18%. Basically the rationale is sometimes what happens कि हम ट्रक को किराए पे ले लेते हैं विद फ्यूल, कि भाई हमने 1 महीने के लिए किराए पे ले लिया, 15 दिन के लिए किराए पे ले लिया, along with driver and along with फ्यूल. तो उस केस में क्या ये जीटीए माना जाएगा? नो, जीटीए तो वो होगा नहीं, बिकॉज जीटीए इज अ पर्सन हु इश्यूज अ कंसाइनमेंट नोट, तो इट इज नॉट कवर्ड अंडर जीटीए. तो इट इज अ गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑपरेटर, आल्सो इट इज नॉट अ गुड ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑपरेटर, बिकॉज इन केस ऑफ अ गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑपरेटर small single trips are made. So in this case the trucks are being acquired on a time basis. तो यहाँ पर जो है इन्होंने क्लेरिफाई कर दिया कि in this case the tax payable will be 12% and not 18%, and it will not be covered under GTA services. Now there is some amendment in entry number 11 of notification number 11, which is the rate notification. तो यहाँ पर जो है 2 क्लॉज दिए हुए थे, मेरा क्लॉज आई और डबल आई. यहाँ पर लिखा था सर्विसेज ऑफ जीटीए in relation to transportation of goods including used household goods for personal use, or second is supporting services in transport other than I above. तो न्यू एंट्री में इन्होंने क्या करा, क्लॉज आई हटा दिया और जो डबल आई था उसको अमेंड कर दिया और लिख दिया सपोर्टिंग सर्विसेज इन ट्रांसपोर्ट. आई थिंक द रैशनल बिहाइंड दिस इज दैट the services provided by GTA is already covered in 9965. So there is a duplicacy and they have just removed the duplicacy and made it clear that if any service has been provided by GTA, so it shall be covered under 9965 and not 9967. Now there is a change made in the transportation of railway equipment by rail or vessel. So there was one entry number 20 of assumption notification जो कहती थी कि services provided by way of transportation by rail or a vessel from one place in India to another of the following goods: railway equipment or material. Meaning thereby अगर आप railway equipment और material को transport कर रहे हैं by rail or vessel within India, so in that case it was exempted from GST. Now this entry has been omitted, meaning thereby अगर railway equipment और material को आप transport कर रहे हैं through rail or vessel from one place in India to another, so that will be now taxable with effect from 18 July 2022. Now let us come to the changes made in rate of tax on one contract services. तो सर हमें सबको पता है there are so many entries which has been given in case of work contract सर्विसेज। तो सर इन्होंने क्या करा है, बेसिकली टू इनलार्ज द टैक्स स्पेस एंड टू इंक्रीज द कलेक्शन ऑफ टैक्स, देयर आर मेनी एंट्रीज which are there under work contract services, which has been moved from 12% rate to 18% rate, like work contract for road, bridges, railways, metro, etc. Work contract for original works of railways, low cost housing, etc. So you can just go through. So meaning thereby they have increased the tax rate on the work contract services in case of many services from 12% to 18%. Further, on some of the services which were earlier taxable at the rate of 5% in case of work contract, the rate has been increased from 5% to 12%. Now, with respect to work contract services, since the rate has been increased, so what are the challenges which will be faced by the taxpayer? So, in my view, first challenge is renegotiation in case of ongoing government project. Meaning thereby, अगर suppose आप टैक्स पेयर हैं, आपने गवर्नमेंट के साथ कोई इस टाइप का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करा हुआ है और उसमें विच इज ऑल इंक्लूसिव and taxes are already included, or now the government has increased the tax rate, so definitely you have to renegotiate the pricing with the government and take up with the matter with the relevant government department की टैक्स आपके वर्क कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सर्विस में इंक्रीज हो गया है, तो आपका जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का प्राइस है वो सुटेबली इंक्रीज करा जाए। तो ठीक है, आप लेटर देंगे, उससे नेगोशिएट करेंगे, बट द रियल इशू इज द ब्लॉकेज ऑफ वर्किंग कैपिटल, मीनिंग देयर बाय कि ये तो 18 जुलाई 2022 से एप्लीकेबल हो गया एंड यू विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू पे द टैक्स एट द इंक्रीज रेट, बट देयर विल बी अ टाइम गैप फ्रॉम द अप्रूवल फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट एंड रिलीज ऑफ द increased rate of GST from the government department. So this is going to block your working capital. Further, this section 14 of the CGST Act with the change in rate of tax is to be adhered to कि भाई सर्विसेज कब प्रोवाइड हुई थी, एडवांस आया था नहीं आया था, उसमें काफी सारी कंडीशन दी हुई है, तो मुझे सेक्शन 14 का कंप्लायंस देखना पड़ेगा इन ऑर्डर टू जज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इन केस ऑफ change of rate of tax. Now let us come to the changes made in services by Department of Post. सर अगर मैं exemption notification की बात करूं, पहले assumption has been provided to services provided by Department of Post except by way of speed post, express parcel post, life insurance and agency सर्विसेज, मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर स्पीड पोस्ट, एक्सप्रेस पार्सल पोस्ट, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस, एजेंसी सर्विसेज हैं, इस पे मेरा टैक्स लगता था, बाकी सर्विसेज पे टैक्स नहीं लगता था। नाउ ऑल द सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पोस्ट हैज बीन मेड लायबल टू टैक्स एंड कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग चेंजेस हैज बीन मेड इन द relevant exemption entries. Except this services provided by Department of Post by way of postcard, अगर आप पोस्ट कार्ड पे टैक्स नहीं लगेगा, इनलैंड लेटर, बुक पोस्ट एंड ऑर्डिनरी पोस्ट, इनवलप्स वेइंग लेस देन 10 ग्राम, मतलब इनवलप जो है 10 ग्राम से कम का होना चाहिए, दैट हैज बीन एग्जम्प्टेड, एंड ऑल द टैक्सेबल सर्विस ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पोस्ट वुड बी सब्जेक्ट टू फॉरवर्ड चार्ज। Now let us come to the changes made in tour operator services. Now, certain assumption has been provided on tour operator services supplied to a foreign tourist. So, new entry number 52A has been inserted in assumption notification, and it says tour operator service which is performed partly in India and partly outside India. Meaning thereby आप कोई tour operator है और कोई सर्विस दे रहे हैं फॉरेन टूरिस्ट को, जो टूर जो है कुछ तो वो इंडिया में परफॉर्म कर रहा है, कुछ वो आउटसाइड इंडिया परफॉर्म कर रहा है, लेकिन सर्विस आप यहां से दे रहे हैं, सप्लाइड बाय टूर ऑपरेटर टू अ फॉरेन टूरिस्ट टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ वैल्यू ऑफ टूर ऑपरेटर सर्विस विच इज परफॉर्म आउटसाइड इंडिया, मीनिंग देयर बाय जो टू दी वैल्यू उस टूर ऑपरेटर सर्विस की जो उसने बाहर टूर परफॉर्म करा है, दैट शुड बी एग्जाम इन इंडिया। तो वो वैल्यू कैसे कैलकुलेट होगी, एग्जाम्पशन कैसे होगी, वो उन्होंने बताया और इस पे लिखा है कि जो आपकी जो टूर की वैल्यू है वो डेज के बेसिस पे आपको प्रपोर्शनेट करनी पड़ेगी कि वो कितना टूर जो है बाहर परफॉर्म हुआ है और कितना इंडिया में परफॉर्म हुआ है, और अगर वो और उसको कंपेयर करना पड़ेगा विद द 50% ऑफ द टोटल कंसिडरेशन चार्ज फॉर द टूर। तो उन दोनों में से जो भी कम होगा, विच एवर इज लेस विल बी एग्जाम। तो दिस इज गिवन इन द नोटिफिकेशन, तो यू कैन जस्ट गो थ्रू इट। Because of paucity of time, I am not going into detail. So I have given the example also. It is also given in the notification and the circular. So you can also refer the example from there. Now changes made in storage or warehousing services. There is a entry 24B, which was earlier read as follows: service by way of storage or warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruit, nuts and vegetables, spices, copra, sugarcane, jaggery, raw vegetable fibers such as cotton, flax, jute, etc., indigo, etc., etc. तो अगर आप स्टोरेज एंड वेयरहाउसिंग इन प्रोडक्ट की कर रहे हैं तो यू वर नॉट लायबल टू पे टैक्स अंडर जीएसटी बिकॉज assumption was provided. Now under the new entry, these services provided by way of storage, warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruit and vegetables has been exempted. Meaning thereby जो अगर आप जो और आइटम्स दी हुई थी, अगर आप उसका स्टोरेज एंड वेयरहाउसिंग कर रहे हैं तो दैट स्टोरेज एंड वेयरहाउसिंग सर्विसेज हैज बीन मेड टैक्सेबल. तो यू कैन से दिस टाइम दिस सर्विसेज, storage and warehousing services has been made taxable based on the item you store in the storage or warehouse basically. Now let us come to the changes in GST rate on various goods. तो सर अभी बड़ा important change आया है and there is some confusion which is going on in the market. So let us discuss it. Presently, GST is exempted on specified food items, grain, etc. if such goods are not branded, or with respect to goods for which right on the brand has been foregone. Meaning there पे कुछ फूड आइटम्स पे जो है जीएसटी एग्जाम था, जो या तो अनब्रांडेड थे या लेकिन ब्रांडेड थे, लेकिन उस पे राइट जो है जो मैन्युफैक्चरर है या ब्रांड ओनर है उसने राइट फॉरगॉन कर दिया था. तो इन such cases, by way of notification number 6/2022, the words bearing a registered brand name and bearing a brand name on which an actionable claim or enforceable right in court of law is available is substituted with word pre-packaged and pre-labeled. Meaning thereby जहां पर भी rate notification में word आ रहे थे bearing a registered brand name and bearing a brand name on which actionable claim or enforceable right in court of law is available, that has been replaced with pre-packaged and labeled. Meaning thereby जो brand name का था उसका scope थोड़ा limited था and there was litigation which is going on how to forego the brand name and what is the brand name. So there were a lot of litigation. So in order to avoid the litigation and to enlarge the scope of taxability under GST, they have replaced these words, and now all these words has been replaced with pre-packaged and label. Now again the controversy which has arisen, what is the meaning of pre-packaged and labeled? So now the goods which are pre-packaged and labeled are taxable under GST. So they have defined the word प्री-पैकेज्ड एंड लेबल्ड, क्योंकि अगर मेरा गुड्स प्री पैकेज और लेबल की डेफिनेशन में नहीं आता तो जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा, आता है तो लगेगा. तो इन्होंने ये एक्सप्रेशन डिफाइन करा इन द नोटिफिकेशन और दे से प्री-पैकेज्ड एंड लेबल गुड्स, प्री-पैकेज्ड एंड लेबल्ड मींस ए प्री-पैकेज्ड कमोडिटी, मतलब प्री-पैकेज्ड कमोडिटी होनी चाहिए एज डिफाइंड इन क्लॉज L ऑफ सेक्शन 2 ऑफ द लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी एक्ट, वेयर द पैकेज इन विच द कमोडिटी इज प्री-पैक्ड or labeled securely fixed thereto is required to bear declaration under provision of Legal Metrology Act 2019 and rules made thereunder. Meaning thereby pre-packaged और labeled goods कौन से हैं? पहले तो क्या है कि that goods should be pre-packaged commodity, वो pre-packaged commodity होनी चाहिए जैसा कि Legal Metrology Act में डिफाइन करा है. सेकेंड, वो जो pre-packaged commodity है उस पर डिक्लेरेशन भी देने की आवश्यकता होनी चाहिए एज पर द Legal Metrology Act, meaning thereby दो condition has to be satisfied simultaneously. First, it should be prepackaged commodity. Second, that commodity should be required to bear the declaration as required under the Legal Metrology Act or the rules. तो उन्होंने prepackaged commodity भी define करा हुआ है under Legal Metrology Act, और वो कहते हैं prepackaged commodity means a commodity which without the purchaser being present is placed in package of whatever nature, whether sealed or not, so that product contained therein has a predefined quantity. मीनिंग देयर है परचेजर के सामने पैक नहीं होनी चाहिए, उसकी एब्सेंस में पैक होनी चाहिए और उसमें प्री डिटरमाइंड क्वांटिटी होनी चाहिए. नाउ लेट अस सी कि व्हाट आर द पैकेजेस ऑन विच डिक्लेरेशन इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी मेड अंडर लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी एक्ट. तो सेक्शन 18 मेरा इससे डील करता है डिक्लेरेशन ऑन प्री पैकेज्ड commodities. वो कहता है no person shall manufacture, pack, sell, import, distribute, deliver, offer, expose, possesses for sale any pre-packaged commodity unless such package is in such standard quantity or number of bears thereon such declaration particular such manner as may be prescribed. तो उन्होंने कहा कि pre-packaged commodities में declaration होनी चाहिए. तो फिर जब हमने कहा कि भाई क्या prescribed है रूल में, इसने कहा एज में भी प्रिस्क्राइब. तो हम जब रूल में गए तो रूल का चैप्टर 2 of the legal metrology package commodity rules 2011 वो कहता है the provision of this chapter मतलब chapter 2 shall not apply to package of commodities containing quantity of more than 25 किलोग्राम और 25 लीटर. मीनिंग देयरबाय अगर कोई पैकेज है जिसमें 25 किलोग्राम से ऊपर की कमोडिटी है तो उस पर ये जो है चैप्टर 2 नहीं लगेगा. सीमेंट, फर्टिलाइजर एंड एग्रीकल्चर फार्म प्रोड्यूस सोल्ड इन बैग्स अबव 50 किलोग्राम, अगर ये 50 किलो से ऊपर की पैकिंग में है तो ये चैप्टर 2 नहीं लगेगा. एंड पैकेज्ड कमोडिटीज मीन फॉर इंडस्ट्रियल कंज्यूमर्स और इंस्टीट्यूशनल कंज्यूमर्स, तो अगर इनको बेचा है आपने तो भी उस पर डिक्लेरेशन देने की जरूरत नहीं है. नाउ द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, जो चैप्टर 2 है दैट डील्स विद द रिटेल पैक, and under this chapter they basically the packs which are less than 25 kilogram are treated as a retail pack. But if you go subsequently into the provisions of the rule, there is the concept of wholesale pack also, and as per the rules these certain declarations are required to be given under the on the wholesale pack. So before coming of the clarification by way of circular or based on the minutes of the 47 GST council meeting, there was a confusion. अगर मेरा पैक जो है 25 किलो से ज्यादा का है and it is a wholesale pack, then also in this case the declaration is required to be given as per the Legal Metrology Act, because the wholesale packages are not exempt from making declaration. तो क्या जो गवर्नमेंट कह रही है कि 25 किलो के ऊपर के पैक पे जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा, वो कैसे होगा? तो there was lot of confusion, so they have issued one circular and in that circular basically they said कि अगर पैक आपका 25 kg से ऊपर का है तो उस पे जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा. तो I don't know what is the legal sanctity of that FAQ which they have given in the FAQ, because it is contradictory to the legal understanding. So I will not go into the legal controversy ki why the FAQ is inconsistent with the law of the legal methodology. I just give the harmonious construction based on the discussion which we have done so far. So sir, this is the brief diagram which I have prepared for easy understanding. So first is sale of goods such as cereals, pulses, flour, curd, etc. by manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, retailer. So sir, there is no difference between manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, retailer. What we have to see the pack size. So first case is sold in loose form or packed in front of bear. So it is not pre-packaged, it is loose. So GST is not payable. The second case is sold in pre-packaged form, जो कि हमने कहा था कि pre-packaged होनी चाहिए और declaration होनी चाहिए, तभी GST लगेगा. तो second is sold in pre-packaged form, packed in predetermined quantity before purchaser being purchased by the buyer. तो पहला केस है इसमें सोल्ड टू एंड कंज्यूमर रिटेल पैक, अगर मैंने रिटेल पैक में बेचा है एंड पैक्स आर अप टू 25 kg और 25 लीटर, जीएसटी इज एप्लीकेबल, एंड पैक्स आर अबव 25 kg or 25 liter, GST is exempt. Or if it is sold to intermediaries, wholesale pack is combination sold to intermediaries into, and there are again two cases. Wholesale pack is combination of multiple retail packs. Retail packs are up to 25 kg or 25 liter, so GST is applicable. So sir, again this is a case which I have taken from the FAQ. Then second is wholesale pack is a single pack of quantity more than 25 kg or 25 liter, GST is exempt. The another scenario is it is sold to an institutional or industrial consumers. So in that case, we have seen GST is exempt. And if it is sold in packs of up to 10 gram or 10 ml, then also assumption has been provided and it is exempt. Now the question arises, what are the institutional and industrial consumers? The institutional or industrial consumers are consumers like transportation, airways, railways, hotel, hospital, or any other institutional industries who buy packaged commodity directly from manufacturer for use by that institution or industry. So friend, this is the snapshot ki, how the taxability will be done under the amended scenario. तो अपेरेंटली जो अभी मेरे माइंड में आता है कि आप जो है पैक साइज बढ़ा दो कि भाई 25 किलो का, पहले आप 25 किलो का बेचते थे तो अब आपने कहा मैंने पैक साइज 30 केजीज का कर दिया, तो अगर आप 30 केजीज का पैक साइज करेंगे तो यू विल बी आउट ऑफ दिस प्रोविजन. So this is the illustrative list of goods which has been made taxable due to this. So you can just go through. I am not going into detail due to paucity of time. Now let us come to the other changes. So these are there are certain other changes in rate of tax on services, like services provided by foreman of a chit fund in relation to check. तो इस केस में टैक्स इंक्रीज हो गया फ्रॉम 12% to 18%. Then services by way of job work in relation to processing of hides, skins and leather, manufacture of leather goods or footwear, manufacture of clay bricks falling under tariff item 69010010. तो इसमें भी 5% है, 12% हो गया. Then certain assumption has been withdrawn in case of services, like services provided by Reserve Bank of India has been made taxable, services provided by IRDA to insurers, then services provided by Security Exchange Board of India, services provided by Food Safety Standard Authority of India, services provided by GSTN, services provided by way of fumigation in a warehouse of agriculture produce, then services slaughtering of animals. So assumption has been withdrawn in all these cases and these entries has been omitted. Now certain changes has been made in order to reduce the inverted duty structure, and certain entries has been shifted from 5 to 12% rate, like 4107 and 841912. Now concessional GST rate rationalized from 5% to 12% for goods supplied for petroleum, coal bed, methane operations. I am not going into detail because it's a lengthy presentation and we have to cover the non-tariff notification also. Then the notification design, then the concessional GST rate has been designed on scientific and technical equipment supplied to public funded research institution. तो अगर हम कोई public funded research institution को scientific and technical equipment supply करते थे तो उसमें पहले concession rate रखता था 5% का, अब वो भी खत्म हो गया, and now the rate which is applicable to that particular equipment will apply. Then refund of accumulated unutilized ITC in case of inverted duty supply on supply of edible oils or coal has been curtailed, meaning thereby जो हमारे को इन्वर्टेड ड्यूटी स्ट्रक्चर का रिफंड मिलता था इन केस ऑफ एडिबल ऑयल्स और कोल में, दैट रिफंड विल नॉट बी अवेलेबल इन फ्यूचर. तो दे हैव गिवन द डिटेल लिस्ट इन द नोटिफिकेशन. So you can just go through that notification and see where the refund in this case has been curtailed. Then there is a change, like in various notifications, they have used the word fly ash bricks, fly ash aggregate with 90% or more, or fly ash content, or fly ash blocks. So they have changed the wording and to fly ash bricks, fly ash aggregate, and fly ash blocks with effect from 18 July 2022. That's then compulsory registration in case of supply of fly. Sir, can you mute yourself because there is some voice which is coming? Ma'am, can you mute? I don't know where voice is coming. Compulsory registration in case of supply of fly ash bricks with respect to fly ash content. So basically wording may change हुआ है इसमें. So thanks a lot for the patient hearing. I'll be taking the question at the end of my presentation. So over to Pranjal. Pranjal, you can proceed for the further proceedings.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative and insightful deliberation. Now I invite C. Shilpi Gupta ma'am to start her deliberation.
Thank you very much, Pranjal. So that was very well and lucidly explained. I hope all the audience are equally benefited by your presentation. So if we think that the tariff notifications were too much and humongous and the impact is quite high, then my friends, I must tell you that non-tariff side also, the government has done no less. I'm sharing my presentation now. I hope the screen is visible to all, one and all.
Yes, ma'am, the screen is visible.
Okay. So as I was telling you that in non-tariff side also, the government has made humongous changes and the impact to the industry is quite high. So we'll be discussing the major changes here. This is the flow of the presentation. We'll be discussing this, the tariff notifications and circulars. Majorly, we'll be discussing on refunds, calculation of interest, payment of tax under GST, disclosure requirements, changes in 3B, and various other changes. So this is basically the synopsis of non-tariff notifications. We have, as Sir has already told us in the beginning, that there are a host of notifications which have been issued. These are discussed at the later part of our presentation, so I'm not discussing it right now. Now, these are the various circulars which have been issued. So we have just given the synopsis of this here. So let us start with changes made with respect to refund under GST. Just a sec. The first major change is basically they have brought about a refinement in the formula for claiming refund of ITC in case of inverted duty structure. So as we understand, Rule 89 deals with the refund of accumulated ITC in case of inverted duty structure. So as per Rule 89.5, this was the basic formula which was devised. This maximum refund amount is equal to turnover of inverted rated supply of goods into services into net ITC divided by the adjusted total turnover, and the tax payable, that is the output tax payable on such inverted supply, was reduced from this. Now, the various issues which have been raised in this is, first of all, the net ITC included only inputs. So input service was not considered, which was one of the major issue. The second is it was presumed that the entire output tax payable has been entirely discharged from the ITC accumulated on account of input goods and not input services. Because if you will see, the formula is reducing the entire tax payable on such inverted rated supply of goods and services. Now, this issue has been raised in, pointed out in the judgment of Gujarat High Court in the case of BKC Footsteps, whereby they said that explanation A to 89.5 is ultra vires, and they directed the department to allow the claim of refund in case of input services also. This ruling was, however, reversed by Honorable Supreme Court, but Supreme Court also acknowledged that the formula is not inequitable, and they have urged the GST Council to take the necessary corrective action. Post this, 47 GST Council meeting made their recommendations, and CBIC has issued notification 14 post that recommendation, where they have made the change, which is specified in the red. So what they have done is they have proportionately reduced. Earlier, the entire tax payable, the output tax payable was reduced. Now the output tax payable in proportion is reduced in proportion of net ITC divided by ITC await on input and input services. Let me explain this with an example. So this is basically to make you understand what is the difference in the formula. So if I take a numerical illustration, ITC on inputs is 6 lakhs, ITC on input services 4 lakhs. That means the total ITC is 10 lakhs. The total turnover is 1.5 crores. The turnover of inverted duty supplies is 50 lakhs. And other than inverted duty supplies is approximately 1 crores. Output tax on inverted duty supply, that is at the rate of 5%, is 2.5 lakhs. Now, if I go by the earlier formula, this is how the formula will be devised, and the result will be I will not be able to claim any refund. It is negative of 50,000 or nil, whichever is higher. If I go by the post amendment, then I will be getting a refund of 50,000 because my output tax payable has been proportionately reduced and not completely reduced. So this is one of the major. This is in fact a welcome step and is more logical in it. Now the second thing is refund of inverted duty structure. There is another clarification. Now, whether refund under inverted duty structure is eligible where supplier is supplying goods under concessional notification. Now, the background of this particular thing is 54 subsection 3, subsection 2 allows a refund of accumulated ITC in case my rate of tax on inputs is higher than rate of outputs. So that means if my inputs are at a higher rate and I'm supplying, my output supply is lower, then there is a case of inverted duty structure, and we were allowed refund of that. However, circular number 135/05/2020 dated 31st March 2020, which was the earlier master circular, said that it does not allow refund in cases where inputs and outputs are same but attracted different rate due on their supply to different class of buyers. Now there was actually a conflict, and this conflict was pointed out in various high court judgments like Messrs BMG Informatics versus Union of India, given by Honorable Guwahati High Court, Messrs Shivako Associates versus Joint Commission of State Tax, given by Calcutta High Court. Now, considering all these judgments, CBIC, the GST Council has given the recommendations basis which there has been CBIC has issued circular number 173/07/2022. This was issued on 6 July 2022, where they clarified that refunds of accumulated ITC on account of inverted duty structure is not applicable on inputs and outputs which are same but attracting different tax rate at different point of time. However, refunds will be allowed in cases where accumulation of ITC is on account of rate of output supply being less than rate of tax on inputs at the same point of time. Now, why the rate of tax on output supply might be lower is because on account of some concessional notification. However, this inverted duty refund will not be applicable in cases where output supply is either nil or fully exempted, and also in cases where the government has specifically prohibited refunds of accumulated ITC in respect of certain goods and services. Now, the next amendment in refund is there have been lot of cases. There have lot of amendments in case of refunds. Now, this next amendment is application for refund in case of export on payment of tax. Now, we all know when exports are made on after paying the tax, shipping bill is deemed to be the application for refund. But there has been an amendment in Rule 96 which says that this will be deemed as application only when, number one, when the person in charge of the conveyance has filed the export manifest. Now, this was earlier also there. On 1st January, Aadhaar authentication has also been made mandatory part of this application. Now, you must be seeing that a lot of your clients or if you're a corporate, you must be seeing that you're getting these mails from GST, and that you need to do your Aadhaar authentication so that you can get the refunds with respect to your exports on payment of tax. Now, that is basically because now Aadhaar authentication has become an important parameter for giving the refunds in respect of efforts. Now, these are the two conditions. The third condition has also been added, which says applicant should have filed a valid return in Form GSTR 3B. However, they have said that in case there is a mismatch between the data furnished by the exporter of goods in their shipping bill vis-a-vis what they have shown in their GSTR 1, then the date of application of refund will be the date on which this rectification has been rectified by the exporter. Now, why this is being done? Because you have to, there is a 60 days time limit within which the refunds need to be sanctioned. Now, shipping bill has already been filed. Shipping bill is the application for refund. Suppose if there is a mismatch and my exporter actually rectifies this mismatch after, let us say, 1.5 months, or so that 1.5 months, or maybe whatever the time period, that time period needs to be excluded for the purpose of calculating those 60 days which is required by the department for processing the refund. So this is the next thing is explanation has also been added in calculation of turnover of zero rated supplies while applying the refunds for ITC on zero rated supplies under LUT. Now, the definition was refund amount is turnover into zero rated supply of goods plus the turnover of zero rated supply of services into the proportionate ITC divided by the ITC, that is adjusted total turnover. Now what they have said is that in order to calculate the turnover of zero rated supplies, it will be the free FOB value as declared in shipping bill or the value declared in tax invoice or bill of supply, whichever is less. Why bill of supply? Because you know that even in case of exempt supplies, you can claim the refund on ITC in respect of accumulated ITC. Now, the thing is, normally my FOB value, which is there in my shipping bill and tax invoice, ideally should be same. But in case they are different, then whatever is the value which is lesser will be considered for the purpose of refund. So we have to make sure that either the value is same or that the correct value has to be declared in the tax invoice or the bill of supply, as the case may be. Then there are changes which are made in withholding of refund. In case of withholding of refund, the specific provision says that in case a jurisdictional officer feels that has some reasons to believe that the refund should be withholded or the custom authorities require, the refunds will be withholded. The third condition has been added in Rule 96, Sub-Rule 4, which says that if board or the commissioner is authorized, that they feel that the profile of the exporter is risky, they can ask for the withholding of refund. Then what will be the process of post that? The process says that whenever such refunds are being withheld, the details of that will be transmitted to the jurisdictional officer for further verification. And since we know that in case of exports with payment of tax, shipping bill is deemed as an application of refund. So in specific cases of withholding, they are saying that when the date on which this transmission of information is being done to the jurisdictional officer under central tax, state tax, or union territory for further verification, that will be deemed as the date of application of refund. So again, the officer gets those 60 days. This is basically to actually exclude the date from filing of shipping bill to the date of transmission of this withholding information to the jurisdiction for calculating those 60 days which is required for the processing of refund. Refund on accumulated ITC in case of export. So in case electricity is being exported, there is a specific procedure which has been prescribed under circular number 175. Exclusion on account of COVID in case of filing of application under 54 or 55, the period of 1st March 2020 to 28th February 2022 has to be excluded. This is given under notification 13. The next point is deemed export. So you know that in case of deemed export, it is both the supplier or the recipient, whichever whoever wishes to be, those can claim refund for ITs for the accumulated ITC. Now, issue is being raised with respect when the recipient is claiming the refunds on deemed recipient is claiming refund in respect of deemed exports. Now, as per CBIC, recipient can claim the refund under deemed exports subject to specific conditions. And one of the undertaking which they have to give is they have to give the statement, which is statement 5B, which has a list of all the invoices, and it is specified that he cannot claim ITC on such invoices. He has to give that undertaking. Now, the issue which was coming is whenever such recipients were filing an application for refund, automatically the ITC was auto debited from their electronic credit ledger. In order to rectify this issue, the government has given the corrective action that whatever tax which you are paying whatever tax which you are paying on such supplies, you can claim the corresponding amount as ITC, so that whenever you are filing the claim of the refund, the ITC should not be debited. There should not be any double debit. So the point raised was that this ITC which they have added in their electronic ledger purely for applying for the application of refund, should this be considered while doing the apportionment under section 17? So the clarification has been issued by CBIC under circular number 172, which says that this is not ITC subject to the provisions of chapter 5 of CGST Act, so this will not be considered for apportionment. Similar logic has been given with respect to calculation of refund of unutilized ITC under 89 and 89.4. So if you will see 89.4, 89.5 has the formula has net ITC. So while calculating the net ITC, again the ITC portion which has been added purely for applying for the refund in case of deemed exports, that amount has to be excluded. Now, the next important point is recredit of electronic credit ledger upon depositing of erroneous refund. Now, suppose a refund has been sanctioned and it was erroneous, then the law requires that whatever refund has been sanctioned to you should be refunded by you. Now, as per notification 14/2022, 86.4B has been inserted, which says that in case an erroneous refund is sanctioned to the registered person, he can deposit the same in form DRC-03, and once this is deposited, the jurisdictional officer will make an order under form PMT-03A, and thereby whatever amount which has been auto debited in the whatever ITC which has been auto debited at the time of filing of the refund will be recredited in the electronic credit ledger. The corresponding circular number 174 has been issued, which says that till that time this particular thing has not been automated in the GST portal, then you can file a manual application under Annexure A, which is the format of Annexure A is given in the circular itself, and this Annexure A has to be submitted to the jurisdictional officer, and it has been advised. Now, they have used the term preferably. So it has been advised that this credit into the ITC which was earlier debited in the application of refund should be credited preferably within 30 days of this application. Now, they have used the term preferably. So let us see how department interprets it and how much time do they take for such kind of recredit. Supplies by duty-free shops. So you must, whenever you go outside, whenever you go international, you must be seeing those duty-free shops selling the products to the outbound customers, the international customers. Now, they used to claim refund on the inputs under Rule 95A. 95A provided the specific process of claiming the refund of taxes by these retail outlets which are established in the departure area of an international airport. And there was circular 106 which further gave the complete process. Now, there were various high court judgments like Flamingo Travel, Retail, etc., which questioned that such retail outlets were able to claim ITC only in respect of goods and not in respect of services. So thereby 95A has been omitted, and circular 106 has also been rescinded, and thereby now the entire supplies which are being made by these duty-free outlets will be considered zero-rated supply, and they can file the refund under normal sections. Manner of calculation of interest in case of delayed payment of interest, delayed payment of tax. Now the background of it is, sir, Finance Act 2021 में एक section आया था, section 112, which asked for adding of a proviso section 50 subsection 1, which basically now this was added retrospectively from 1st July 2017. Now this basically provided the calculation of interest जब आप अपने outward supplies delay declare करते हो, या तो return ही delay file कर रहे हो, या कोई specific outward supply, let us say मेरी sale थी June 2020 की, but I have declared it in GSTR 1 of June 2022. So इस तरीके के cases के लिए they have prescribed the process for how you should be calculating interest. This section came in. This section was introduced in Finance Act 2021, and this section was notified through Notification 16/2021, dated 1st June 2021. Further, after that, there was another section 111, which was added in Finance Act 2022, which said, where section 50 subsection 3 was introduced, which said that ITC on excess availment, interest on excess availment of ITC and which is availed and utilized has to be calculated based on the ITC which has been utilized and not availed, and the maximum rate of interest which can be charged is 24%, but the rate will be notified from time to time. Now, this section 111 of Finance Act has also been notified in this post 47 GST Council meeting under Notification 9/2022. Basis that Notification 14, which is amendment in GST rules, came out with new rule 88B. Now, let us see what 88B says. 88B gives you the detailed account of how to calculate interest in case of delayed payment. 88B can be divided into two parts. First is with respect to outward supplies, and second is with respect to ITC. So first we will see what it says with respect to outward supplies. So interest on delayed payment of tax under 50 sub rule 1 should be calculated in this manner. Suppose I am filing the return. My return was for the period June 2020. I have filed that GSTR 1 or I have filed my GSTR 3B of June 2020, let us say in August 2021. Now, so in this case, except where there is a commencement of proceeding, except if there is any commencement of proceedings under 73, 74, अगर मैंने उन proceedings के बाद किया, then this is not applicable. But in case I am filing my entire return late, then interest has to be paid only on the cash ledger, only on the cash flow, on the net, on the amount which is being debited from my electronic cash ledger. So it is on the net amount and it is not on the gross basis. However, if any specific outward supply is to be declared in another period's return. So that means my June 2020, I have filed my returns properly. My 3B has been filed properly, but I have forgotten to report, let us say, the sales of 20 lakhs in that particular return, and I have come to know about this in August 2021. Now, in August 2021, I am reporting the outward supplies which pertains to June 2020. In that case, I have to pay my interest on the gross portion, that is on 20 lakhs into 18% or whatever is the applicable GST rate. So here the tax will be paid, the interest will be paid on the gross, and if it is the complete return has been filed late, then interest has to be paid on the net portion. In case of excess availment of ITC, the interest will be calculated on the ITC which is availed and utilized as per 50 subsection 3. Now how interest will be calculated? Interest will be calculated from the period from which this excess or the wrongly availed ITC was utilized till it was finally reversed. There has been an explanation which has also been added in this rule, which has been added in this rule, which says input tax wrongly availed. Now, when will you say ITC? You are actually in. If you will see in GSTR 3B, you are reporting the complete ITC. So how will you know what is the amount of ITC which is wrongly availed and utilized? So they have given a very simple formula, very logical formula, which says that ITC which is wrongly availed shall be construed. It will be construed to be utilized when the electronic credit ledger balance falls below the ITC, below the amount of ITC wrongly availed. So let us say I have availed the ITC of 20 lakhs with in my IGST ledger. I have wrongly availed my ITC of 20 lakhs in, let us say, June 2020. My electronic ledger already has the ITC electronic credit ledger of IGST already has a good amount of balance. Let us say 20 let us say 40 lakhs. Now my balance is already 40 lakhs. I have wrongly availed 20 lakhs. So if should I be considering that my entire ITC has been utilized? No. So I will have to see every return after June 2020, that when my electronic credit ledger balance falls below 20 lakhs, so that from that point of time I'll be calculating the interest till the time it is reversed. Now, date of utilization of such input, again they have bifurcated. In case of belated filing of return, the date will be calculated, date on which the return was due under section 39, or actual date, whichever is earlier. However, in other cases, the date of debit in the electronic credit ledger when it falls below the utilized amount, ITC which is wrongly availed. Sorry. Payment of tax under GST. The two new methods have been earlier. We already know we have some existing methods of internet banking. So in order to make payments more accessible to everybody, they have added two more methods, which is IMPS and UPI. They have also, through notification 9, 2022, they have also introduced this earlier section 11 earlier in Finance Act 2022. They have already given section 110, which provided for the procedure of transfer of balance of electronic ledger from cash ledger from one distinct person to another distinct person. However, this is possible only when the liability of the person who is transferring has already been paid. So this section has been notified by notification 9, and correspondingly Rule 87 Sub-Rule 14 has been introduced, which says through PMT 09 you can transfer the balance. Again, a clarification, though it was a very known clarification, but they have again clarified in 172 that amount which is available in electronic credit ledger can be utilized for paying output tax, and as per the order of utilization which is given in 49B, it cannot be used. The amount which is there in my electronic credit ledger cannot be used to pay RCM. RCM needs to be paid in cash. It cannot be used for making interest, penalty, fees payment. Again, that has to be made in cash. And it cannot be also used for making the payment of erroneous refund, where refund was sanctioned in cash. However, in case of electronic cash ledger, you can use it to make any kind of payments. Then, a very, very important changes in GSTR 3B, which is definitely going to have a very, very big momentum, a humongous impact on how the events are, how the inward supply is being recorded, and how it should be disclosed in GSTR 3B. We have already done a meeting on this. I'm sure you must have attended. We have already shared our presentation, but we are covering this in brief here. Now, first, very important change which has been made in table 3, where outward supplies is being disclosed, which is being declared in GSTR 3B. It says in point number 3.1D, it says inward supplies liable to reverse charge other than those covered in 3.1. Now, ideally, it should be actually under C, but it's okay. So basically, whatever supplies which you are showing, which pertains to 9 subsection 5, which is lateral charge, that is all the supplies which are made through electronic commerce operator, that you don't have to disclose here. And there is a separate table which has been made for disclosure of electronic supplies which are made through electronic commerce operator. So part 1, here electronic commerce operator in their GSTR 3B will report what is the total taxable value on which they are paying tax under lateral charge 9 subsection 5 and the corresponding taxes. Similarly, the registered person in their 3B should also be showing that this is the amount of taxable, this is the amount of sales which has been made through them, through electronic commerce operator, on which electronic commerce operator is liable to pay tax and not them. So that means, again, earlier what was happening is that in case of 9 subsection 5, the registered persons were not recording the taxes. They were only recording the taxable value in their books of account. So they should be maintaining the data that whatever sales has happened through electronic commerce operator and what is the taxes involved into it, because that has to be shown now in GSTR 3B. Earlier, this particular sale was reported under exempt supplies. So in GSTR 1, it will still be shown in exempt supplies, but in GSTR 3B, it will be shown in part 2. In respect of input tax credit, there has been a lot of changes. So let me tell you what were the details under this is table 4, which has all the ITC. Before amendment is shown in blue. If you will see, ITC available has import of goods, import of services, other inward supplies under RCM, ISD, all other ITC reversal, and then ITC available. Now, ineligible ITC was 17 subsection 5. Now, this is only for disclosure purposes, but in majority of the cases, nobody was showing 17 subsection 5. Now, what they have done is they have revised this entire thing and said that now in ITC reversal, in case of ITC reversal, 2 parts have been made, part 1, part 2. Part 1 will have specific reversals with respect to 38, 42, and 43. 38 is banking industry, 42, 43, apportionment in case of apportionment of common inputs in respect of exempt supplies and taxable supplies, and 17 subsection 5. So whatever ITC 17 subsection 5 also needs to be reversed. So that means first you need to gross up and then you need to reverse. Earlier you were not showing 17 subsection 5 separately. Now what they have done is in their circular they have said that part 1 is considered to be a permanent reversal. So once you have reversed this, it cannot be reclaimed. Others will include the temporary reversals, which is you are reversing it right now, you will be reclaiming it later. Now I'll come again once to the part A of it. Part A of GSTR, part A of table 4. Import of goods has to be shown as per GSTR 2A or books. There is no clarity. I would advise that you should show it as per GSTR, as per books. Import of services, it is not shown in 2B, so again it has to be shown as per books. In case of RCM, unregistered, all the inward supplies which is made through unregistered person, you have to show as per books. In case of registered RCM, it should be as per 2B. Inward supplies from ISD, again as per books. All other ITC has to be shown as per 2B. Now, what they have said is, whatever is showing in your 2B should be coming under part A, and you will then you will be matching your books versus GSTR 2 and GSTR 2A, GSTR 2B. I'm sorry, and what you have to bifurcate into 2 parts. So if there is any GIT, that means you have booked it in month 1, but it is coming in your GSTR 2B in month 1, but you have recorded it in month 2, then you will show it here in all other ITC, and you will be reversing the same in under others. And you will be reclaiming it in the next month's IT, in next month's GSTR 3B. So all your closing GI, you will show GSTR 2B at the total value along with the opening GIT, the ITC in respect of opening GIT or any other reclaims which you want to make of ITC. And in others, you will be reversing whatever ITC is not applicable to you with respect to this particular month. It can always be reclaimed in the future GSTR 3B. So the important part is 17 subsection 5 again also needs to be shown and it has to be reduced. So first you need to gross up and then reduce. normally what was happening is the registered persons were not recording the inputs with respect to 17 subsection 5. They were recording the entire amount as cost. Now that needs to be changed. You need to change your method of recording. You have to record all your inward supplies along with the respective taxes, and then you have to bifurcate what is applicable to, what is eligible to you, and what is not eligible to you. And whatever is not eligible to you has to be reversed. It has to be reversed in books also. It has to be reversed here also, in 3B also. The other disclosures which needs to be given is ITC reclaim, which was reversed under table 4B2. So as I told you, there is a concept of temporary reversal under 4B2. So whatever you have reversed now, you can always reclaim that later in any of the future 3Bs, and whenever you are reclaiming, you have to show that in 4D1. Any ineligible ITC under 16.4 or ITC restricted due to place of supply provisions. Now this comes under GSTR 2B as ineligible ITC, that also needs to be shown. So there is a lot of disclosure. Now you cannot run away from these things. These things have to be provided, and trust me, now filing GSTR 3B is not going to be a piece of cake. So this I have already discussed. What are the various other changes? I'll just quickly go through it. 29 subsection 2, subsection B and C has provides you that proper officer has a right in case the composition dealer is not filing their returns beyond 3 months, and in case of any registered person, any other registered person other than the composition dealer is not filing any return for any continuous period. Now this has to be prescribed. Now I think earlier it was 6 months. In case that is happening, the proper officer has the powers to initiate the cancellation proceedings, the suspension cancellation of registration proceedings. So the notification 14 has come out with this concept of automatic revocation of cancellation of registration in case the pending returns are filed by the assessee. So in case you file your pending returns, you have not been able to file because of some reason, you file it, so automatically those cancellation proceedings which has been initiated can be revoked. There is also a declaration which has to be added in e-invoice. As we know, e-invoice is applicable to all the registered persons beyond a prescribed minimum threshold turnover, which has been reduced from over the period of time. Now, however, there is a certain class of taxpayers who have been exempted from e-invoice, like GTA, SEZ units, registered persons applying services in respect of supplying services by way of admission to the cinematographic films and multiplex screens, passenger transport services, and all. So these, with respect to these category of taxpayers, registered taxpayers who are exempted from issuing an e-invoice, they have to give this declaration as a part of their invoice, which says that though their aggregate turnover is more than the threshold amount, but still because of provision of 48 rule 48 sub rule 4, they have been exempted from issuing e-invoice. So this declaration has to be added in their invoice. So all the GTAs and all the SEZ units, you have to add this. You have to make sure that this particular declaration becomes a part of your invoice. ड्यूटी क्रेडिट स्क्रिप्ट्स, सेल ऑफ एमईआईएस स्कीम से बड़ा इशू था. जितने भी एक्सपोर्टर्स थे वो एमईआईएस स्कीम्स सेल ऑफ करते थे, एंड देन एज ऑडिटर्स, एज ड्यूरिंग एट द टाइम व्हेन द जीएसटी ऑडिट वाज बीइंग डन और we were reviewing the their GST procedures, we used to say that since this is an exempted supply, you should do the proportionate reversal with risk in under 42-43. Now government has come out with this concept. Government has made these changes through notification 14, whereby they said that this will not be classified under exempt supplies for the purpose of 42 and 43. So this is a very, very welcome step. They have also made certain clarifications in 17 subsection 5, subsection B. So 17 subsection 5B mein there are certain services on which ITC was not available, food, beverages, outdoor catering. But उसमें एक proviso था that ITC will be allowed in respect of such goods and services if it is obligatory under any statutory law for an employer to provide the same to the employees. So there was a confusion ki is it only applicable to point number 3? This provision is applicable to point number 3 or is it applicable to all the points? So CBIC has now clarified that this particular provision is applicable to the entire 17(5)(b). However, इसका impact समझने में अभी time लगेगा. It will how industry food and beverages को हम कैसे interpret करेंगे, outdoor catering को कि whether it is obligatory on the part of the employer to provide such services to the employee. So this clarification, the impact of this clarification definitely will affect lot of rulings in the future. सेक्शन 17 सबसेक्शन 5B में एक और छोटा सा क्लैरिफिकेशन है कि इसमें पॉइंट नंबर 1 में देयर इज दिस पॉइंट कॉल्ड इनपुट टैक्स shall not be available in respect of inward supply of foreign services. इसमें एक स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट है लीजिंग, रेंटिंग और हायरिंग ऑफ मोटर व्हीकल, वेसल्स और एयरक्राफ्ट. तो इसमें क्लैरिफिकेशन आया था कि इज इट एप्लीकेबल टू any type of leasing? So the answer is no. They say that leasing, renting and hiring of motor vehicles has to be read in the same connotation. So leasing is applicable here. The term leasing is applicable only with respect of leasing of motor vehicles, vessels and aircraft, and not of any other items. Another clarification in respect of which has also been issued under 172, which says that whether the perquisites which are provided by the employer to the employee in terms of contractual agreement entered into between employer and employee is liable for GST. So they have clarified that since it is the perquisites are also the part of the non-monetary consideration. Basically, it's a part of consideration for providing the services of by the employee to the employer in relation to employment. So this will be covered under Schedule 3 and the GST will not be applicable. But the major important point or major deliverable is it is important that all these perquisites should be mentioned in your contractual agreement. So when I say that when the employer says we are providing such and such services or such and such things to the such and such facilities to our employee, it is important that it should be a part of my contractual agreement or at least the HR policy. 73-74 में अगेन एक क्लैरिफिकेशन आया है. सर इशू क्या होता था कि कंपनी ए ने टैक्स इनवॉइस इशू की इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ सर्टेन गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, बट only the tax invoice was issued, but there was no actual underlying supply which was being done. अब पॉइंट ये आया कि जब कोई सप्लाई नहीं हुई तो टैक्स की एप्लीकेबिलिटी. तो सबसे पहले क्या अगर ये सप्लाई नहीं है तो क्या इस पे 73-74 के अंडर हम डिमांड एंड रिकवरी की प्रोविजंस लगा सकते हैं? तो द आंसर वाज द क्लैरिफिकेशन केम दैट सिंस देयर इज नो टैक्स लायबिलिटी because there is no actual supply as per section 7 of GST Act. So 73-74 में आप इसके ऊपर फेक इनवॉइसिंग के ऊपर नहीं आप टैक्स लगा सकते, नहीं आप डिमांड एंड रिकवरी प्रोसीडिंग्स इशू कर सकते. बट CBIC हैज क्लैरिफाइड कि आप इसे 73-74 में ट्राई नहीं करोगे, आप इसमें पीनल एक्शंस करोगे अंडर 122(1)(2) which says issuing of tax and which says penalty for issuing tax invoices without actual supply of goods or services or both. The next issue was similar issue actually. A ने tax invoice issue की without making an underlying supply to company B. Company B ने उसका ITC claim किया on the basis of tax invoice and again has made us further supply to company C again without an underlying supply. Now here the question was that whether B will be eligible to claim ITC, number one, and and in case of recovery whether the provisions of 73-74 will be applicable or any other provision. So again the similar clarification was given by CBIC which by the circular which says that again since there is no underlying supply there is no tax liability. तो जब B ने कुछ रिसीव ही नहीं करे तो 16(2)(b) का तो वायलेशन हो गया. 16(2)(b) का वायलेशन हो गया तो ITC तो फ्रॉडुलेंटली किया बिकॉज देयर इज नो अंडरलाइंग सप्लाई. सिमिलरली B ने जो C को सप्लाई किया आउटवर्ड सप्लाई भी कुछ नहीं है बिकॉज आउटवर्ड पे कोई टैक्स लायबिलिटी नहीं है बिकॉज कोई सप्लाई ही नहीं हुआ. तो B to C का टैक्स लायबिलिटी क्या होगा? सो you cannot be issuing that इसमें डिमांड एंड रिकवरी प्रोसीडिंग्स अंडर 73-74 नहीं अप्लाई होंगे and provision and further as per provisions of section 75 subsection 13 of CGST Act For if penal action for fraudulent availment or utilization of ITC is taken against B under 74, no penalty of the same can be imposed. So therefore जो भी penal provisions proceedings होंगी वो under section 122 होंगी. So that marks the end of my presentation with respect to non-tariff notifications and circulars, and we are open to questions. Over to you, Pranjal.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an excellent deliberation and letting all of us know the changes made in non-tariff notifications. I also thank all the attendees for actively taking part in the knowledgeable session. And now we shall proceed for the question answer session. If anyone having any question, then they may raise their hand or ask the question one by one.
मैडम ये आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन मैंडेटरी है या अभी ऑप्शनल है?
मिश्रा जी, आधार क्या नाम है, आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं तो आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन के लिए मेल आने लग गई है. तो अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स कर रहे हैं ऑन पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स तो आप आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन करा लीजिए. सो आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन मैंडेटरी हो गया है स्पेसिफिकली इन केसेस जहां पे आप रिफंड अप्लाई करते हैं, या फिर ये जो एक्सपोर्ट वाला केस है अगेन रिफंड के लिए किया जाता है. एंड द नेक्स्ट इज अगर आप फ्रेश एप्लीकेशन ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन फाइल करते हैं तो भी आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन मैंडेटरी है.
हमारे केस में अभी क्या है, ऑप्शनल रहेगा या मैंडेटरी? क्योंकि अभी हम फ्रेश एप्लीकेशन भी अप्लाई करते हैं, जैसे अलग अलग जगह पे यूनिट हमारा
जहां आपकी फ्रेश एप्लीकेशन फाइल हुई है वहां पे तो आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन हुआ ही है. आपको ध्यान होगा हिमाचल प्रदेश वाले केस में.
हाँ, हिमाचल में अभी हमने आधार वगैरह कुछ नहीं लगाया था, डायरेक्टली हमने ऑफलाइन ही किया था.
नहीं उसमें मिश्रा जी ऐसा है ना, जहाँ पर फ्रेश एप्लीकेशन फाइल हो रही है या तो आपको आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन करना है मैंडेटरी. अगर आप आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन नहीं करेंगे तो वो आपके प्रीमिसेस की फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन करेंगे. तो आपके केस में फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन हुआ है और बेस्ड ऑन दैट फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन दे हैव गिवन यू ए रजिस्ट्रेशन.
तो नेक्स्ट टाइम से अगर हमें और भी जगह लेना है तो कैसे करेंगे?
भाई देखिए, या तो आप
जैसे हिमाचल में किया था,
या तो आप एक डायरेक्टर और एक प्राइमरी ऑथराइज सिग्नेटरी का आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन कराइए एट द टाइम ऑफ फाइलिंग एप्लीकेशन फॉर रजिस्ट्रेशन. और अगर आप आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन नहीं कराते हैं तो आपका फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन होगा प्रीमिसेस का.
ओके.
बट मिश्रा जी, व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड इज कि ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम गवर्नमेंट आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन सिस्टमेटिकली ये मैंडेटरी ही कर देगी. तो कराना तो पड़ेगा. अभी नहीं है. अभी नहीं.
ठीक है.
ये सर केवल ऑथराइज सिग्नेटरी का ही होगा ना? जैसे पार्टनरशिप फॉर्म में 4 पार्टनर हैं या आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन,
उसमें मेरे हिसाब से लैंग्वेज चेक करनी पड़ेगी. मेरे हिसाब से एक पार्टनर का और एक ऑथराइज सिग्नेटरी, प्राइमरी ऑथराइज सिग्नेटरी का. और अगर दोनों सेम है तो एक से ही हो जाएगा मेरे हिसाब से.
ओके.
हेलो
आलोक जी, प्लीज
हाँ जी. हाँ
हेलो,
मैं ये कहता हूँ सेक्शन 17(5) का जो आपने बताया आज की डेट में तो अभी क्रेडिट जैसा लेते ही नहीं है. तो अब नए रूल के हिसाब से पहले के बुक्स में क्रेडिट लेना है, देन वी नीड टू रिवर्स.
यस,
एंड अकॉर्डिंगली वी हैव टू शो इन द रिटर्न आल्सो.
राइट. सो 17(5) के में से मैं एग्जांपल देती हूँ. आपने स्वीट बॉक्सेस लिए, दिवाली गिफ्ट्स लिए, इन सब के केसेस में हम क्या करते थे, टोटल कॉस्ट पे ही परचेज रजिस्टर में दिखा देते थे.
हाँ बिल्कुल.
अभी हमें ऐसा नहीं. अभी हमें जितना भी इनवर्ट सप्लाईज हो रहे हैं उनको बुक्स में पहले विद प्रॉपर टैक्सेस दिखाना पड़ेगा. एंड उसको 2B में भी चेक करना पड़ेगा. ऑल अदर आईटीसी में अगर वो 2B में आ रहा है तो आप पहले ऑल अदर आईटीसी में दिखाएंगे और उसके बाद उसको रिवर्स करेंगे जीएसटी या 3B में. कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंगली आपको ऐसा ही एक रिवर्सल अपनी बुक्स में भी डालना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज आपके आईटीसी के जेल से भी उसे हटाना पड़ेगा. इनफैक्ट हमने ये रिकमेंडेशन दी थी हमारी प्रीवियस मीटिंग में कि एक इनएलिजिबल आईटीसी का आप एक लेजर ही क्रिएट कर लें और जिसमें 17(5) या और भी कुछ इनएलिजिबल होता है तो उसमें उस पर्टिकुलर लेजर में आप पार्क करते चलें.
वहां से रिवर्स कर दें फिर.
जी.
हेलो.
हाँ तरुण जी.
मैम रूल 38, 42 और 43 थोड़ा बता दीजिए.
38 तो बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री के, बैंकिंग कंपनी के लिए, वो तो शायद आप पे एप्लीकेबल नहीं है। 42, 43 बेसिकली अपॉर्शनमेंट के लिए होता है, जब आप एग्जेम्प्ट और टैक्सेबल सप्लाईज दोनों में डील करते हैं। तो जो भी कॉमन आईटीसी आपने लिया है इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ एग्जेम्प्ट सप्लाईज आपको रिवर्स करना पड़ता है। 42 में इनपुट सर्विसेज होता है, 43 में कैपिटल गुड्स होता है। सो ये परमानेंट रिवर्सल है, इसलिए दिखाना पड़ेगा। मिश्रा जी आपकी
आप म्यूट करिए।
आलोक जी, आई होप योर क्वेरी इज रिजॉल्व।
यस यस
मैडम, ये इन्वर्टेड ड्यूटी का जो रिफंड का फॉर्मूला है वो रिट्रोस्पेक्टिवली बेनिफिट देगा क्या?
मेरे ख्याल से सर ये रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव नहीं है, ये अभी हुआ है अमेंडमेंट, ये प्रोस्पेक्टिवली ही चलेगा।
सर नोटिफिकेशन अभी ऐसा कोई पुराना कहते नहीं है, इट नीड्स टू बी सीन कि इसमें क्या है, बट नोटिफिकेशन इज एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम आई थिंक 5 जुलाई
होंगे
फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ
अर्लियर जिनको नुकसान हो चुका है, मतलब उनको कोई रेस्पाइट नहीं है, मतलब
नोटिफिकेशन में सर ऐसा इन्होंने लिखा नहीं है। आइडियली इनको कर देना चाहिए था, लेकिन फिर क्वेश्चन आता कि एप्लीकेबल कैसे करेंगे, जो कि जो रिफंड सैंक्शन हो गया ऑलरेडी चले गए, वो रिवाइज रिफंड फाइल होंगे, उनका टाइम हो सकता है निकल गया हो।
राइट,
तो आई थिंक ड्यू टू प्रैक्टिकल चैलेंजेस ये अभी नहीं हुआ है। लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस।
सर मुझे भी यही लगता है
अभी भी आप देखिए इसमें कैपिटल गुड्स के क्रेडिट का भी अकाउंट फॉर नहीं करता।
राइट,
तो अभी भी अनॉमली तो है।
यस यस यस।
इसमें से प्रैक्टिकल चैलेंजेस होंगे। मुझे लगता है सुनील जी, डिपार्टमेंट अपने लिए काम नहीं बढ़ाएगा बाय मेकिंग इट रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली अमेंडेड। मुझे नहीं लगता।
It is procedural error, kind of procedural error, but the benefit should go to the public, I think. ये चलो anyway, गवर्नमेंट
को कितना बेनिफिट देना है ये तो पता नहीं।
Yeah.
Right. There is another question in the message. मैम, मिस्टर सैफ खान इज आस्किंग, एक एडवोकेट रिफंड ले सकते हैं? अब ये एडवोकेट किस लिए रिफंड लेना चाहते हैं, दैट नीड्स टू बी सीन। सो यू नीड टू क्लैरिफाई व्हाट यू नीड टू आस्क मिस्टर सैफ खान।
अच्छा जी, ये क्वेश्चन था मेरा एक और, कि जैसे आपने ये बताया कि 2B से क्रेडिट मैच नहीं होता है, तो आज की डेट में हम अपनी बुक्स में रिवर्स कर लेते हैं और नेट इनपुट क्रेडिट को दिखाते हैं 3B में हमने कितना इनपुट लिया। तो अब हमें क्या करना होगा? टोटल पहले क्रेडिट को दिखाना है और जो रिवर्स किया है इस महीने में उसको भी दिखाना है, और जो पिछले महीने का रिवर्सल इस बार क्रेडिट ले रहे हैं जो इस बार लोगों ने फाइल कर दी है उसको भी सेपरेट दिखाना है।
सर आई वुड से इसको मैं इस तरह से, मैंने इसलिए टर्म यूज किया था ओपनिंग जीआईटी, क्लोजिंग जीआईटी। सो जो आपका ओपनिंग जीआईटी है वो बेसिकली वो क्रेडिट है जो आपके पिछले 2B में दिख रहा था, बट आपने अपनी बुक्स में अभी दिखाया है, राइट?
ठीक है।
ये आपने अगर गवर्नमेंट के हिसाब से चले तो ये आपने पहले रिवर्स कर दिया होगा।
बिल्कुल।
अभी आप अदर आईटीसी में 2B की वैल्यू लेंगे प्लस व्हाटएवर आईटीसी व्हिच यू हैव रिवर्स्ड अर्लियर बट यू आर रिक्लेमिंग नाउ। ठीक है,
वो भी ऐड करेंगे। ठीक है,
हाँ वो हम ऐड करेंगे। और बाकी जो क्लोजिंग जीआईटी है, दैट मींस जो मेरे 2B में आ रहा है बट वो मुझे इस महीने मेरे लिए एलिजिबल नहीं है, वो मैं माइनस कर दूंगी। Now this is as far as GST or 3B is concerned. अब आपको अपने बुक्स में उसके लेजर उसके अकॉर्डिंगली
उसमें नीचे डिस्क्लोजर में भी दिखाना है ना, जो आपने क्लोजिंग लास्ट ईयर का जो आपने आप अवेल करा है वो आपका जो डिस्क्लोजर है। आई एग्जैक्टली डोंट रिमेंबर द पॉइंट। शिपिंग यू कैन,
हाँ आई थिंक इट इज 4B2।
हाँ 4B2 में भी दिखाना है आपको, which is not part of the formula, but that figure will be used only for reconciliation purpose by the department.
सो मैडम, जो आपने पहले पार्ट ए में जो बताया है 17(5) और 38, 42 और उसके बाद अदर रिवर्सल्स जो बताए हैं ऊपर, तो वो अगर हमने वंस वी हैव रिवर्स इट वी कैन नॉट क्लेम इट लेटर, यही है ना इसका?
नहीं सर ऐसा नहीं है। शिल्पी, यू कैन क्लैरिफाई परमानेंट और टेम्परेरी रिवर्सल कॉन्सेप्ट।
दैट इज व्हाट आई वाज टेलिंग यू। रिवर्सल में दो पार्ट्स हैं। पॉइंट 1 इज ऑल अबाउट परमानेंट रिवर्सल, यानी वो रिवर्सल जो आपने एक बार रिवर्स कर दिया उसके बाद आप रिक्लेम नहीं कर सकते। अदर्स इंक्लूड ऑल द टेम्परेरी रिवर्सल्स. सो आप उसे रिवर्स करेंगे और जब आप आगे किसी भी फ्यूचर 2B में उसको रिक्लेम कर सकते हैं.
राइट. ओके, थैंक यू.
सर ये बहुत इस पे वी हैड दिस मीटिंग, वी हैव आल्सो शेयर्ड अ डिटेल्ड प्रेजेंटेशन ऑन द चैलेंजेस एंड व्हाट कैन बी द मेजर एक्शनेबल्स फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री.
राइट. और मैडम ये अनब्रांडेड फूड, चित्रेश जी, जो अनब्रांडेड फूड आइटम्स पे आया है 5%, इसमें एक वर्ड यूज ये है ना, प्री पैक्ड एंड लेबल्ड. तो लेबल्ड का क्या मतलब है? जैसे मान लो कोई रिटेलर है छोटा, वो छोटे छोटे पैकेट्स में पैक करके तो रखता है, पर लेबल्ड का क्या मतलब? कुछ नहीं लिखा हुआ उस पर, सिंपल 1 किलो दाल का पैकेट.
देखिए दोनों कंडीशन साथ में सेटिस्फाई होनी चाहिए. इट हैज टू बी प्री पैकेज्ड एंड लेबल्ड labeled as per the legal metrology act. मीनिंग देयर पे अगर उसने खाली एक पन्नी में 1 किलो के 1.5 किलो के पैकेट बना लिया और खाली अपना नाम लिख दिया, तो वो कोई प्री पैकेज और लेबल नहीं है.
या
भाई उसमें क्या है, वो लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी एक्ट उस पर अप्लाई होना चाहिए और उस पर जो डिक्लेरेशन लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी एक्ट के हिसाब से देनी है, दैट डिक्लेरेशन शुड बी गिवन. या अगर सपोज उन्होंने दी भी नहीं है, लेकिन इट वाज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी गिवन. वर्ड रिक्वायर्ड टू बी गिवन. सपोज उन्होंने क्या करा, लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी एक्ट का वॉलेशन कर दिया. उन्होंने पैकेट बनाया, लेकिन उस पे लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी एक्ट एप्लीकेबल था, लेकिन उसने जो है उसका वॉलेशन कर दिया, डिक्लेरेशन नहीं दी, तब भी उसको जीएसटी देना पड़ेगा.
दैट्स माय पॉइंट, क्योंकि देयर इज नथिंग रिटन ऑन दैट पैकेट. जैसे अपन प्रैक्टिकली देखते भी हैं, छोटे शॉपकीपर्स पे जाते हैं, वहां पे लेबल कुछ नहीं होता, सिंपली वो पैक्ड होता है 1 किलो के पैकेट्स में. वो एक थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन था कि लेबल
आई थिंक स्टिल बी कंसीडर्ड एज अ लूज पैकेट ओनली. द लूज
सर उसमें भी दो चीजें हैं. एक तो देखिए, डिक्लेरेशन रिक्वायर्ड टू बी गिवन एज पर लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी है, तो दैट पर्सन नीड्स टू एनालाइज कि ये डिक्लेरेशन रिक्वायर्ड है और उसने नहीं दी, पहली चीज. दूसरा क्या है, देयर कैन बी ए केस ऑफ ए डीलर whose turnover is below the threshold limit. भाई मैं कहता हूँ ठीक है, मेरे पे टैक्स लगना था, लेकिन मेरी टर्नओवर 20 लाख से कम थी. भाई 20 लाख से कम थी तो भी तो मैं नहीं लगाऊंगा.
हाँ, नहीं लगाएंगे आप, दैट इज फाइन. और अगर वो 40 लाख से या 20 लाख से ऊपर वाला बंदा है,
whatever may be,
अगर वो
चीजें ही देखनी पड़ेंगी.
और पर सर वो अगर क्रॉस करके है 50-60 लाख रुपए, कुछ नहीं होता है. और मतलब मैं तो प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम ही पूछ रहा था कि लेबल नहीं है, इट इज एप्लीकेबल.
यस इट इज. अगर आप देखें सुनील जी, एफएक्यू में भी इस पे एप्लीकेबल कहा है, ये एफएक्यू में भी दिया हुआ है क्वेश्चन.
राइट.
क्या?
थैंक यू.
मिश्रा जी, you also have some question. मिश्रा जी, आपने